No volume. We're back. See, if I would have had the conversation up on the screen, I would have caught that. Thank you, dear leaders. Thank you, regulars. You're like, psst, yo, Brian, where's the sound? Okay, I think the sound is up now. Thank you, Patriot Warrior Texas, in our Rumble group. I was telling you that this is the Thank you all for joining us here on the New American Media's TNAM Daily Show. We're going to talk about cloud seeding, Epstein, a peace prize announced by Benjamin Netanyahu on the day that the Epstein stuff was swept under the rug. We got to unpack that, which means we're going to unpack some interesting thoughts and accusations. My having a conversation is not... it does not equate to my agreement of said conversations. But look, we're adults and we're supposed to have tough conversations. I have two names for the show. One is called The Agree to Disagree Show. That's what it was for years. But then when I started doing a daily show of just unpacking the news, we just called it the TNAM Daily Show. But the name that we went with was The Agree to Disagree Show. Because we should be allowed to agree to disagree. We have conversations. We listen to perspectives. We say, I don't know about that, or, oh, that's a good point, but I don't know if that's exactly we're hashing it out together. And that's why I appreciate everybody being here on the New American Media. At the bottom of the screen, it says follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Truth Social, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch, Kick, DLive, and YouTube. Search the New American Media, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. We're on Signal and Telegram at TNAM and TNAM Chat. We're on X at American_Media_. Subscribe to our podcast. The umbrella is called The Agree to Disagree Show on Spotify and Apple, and you can download that one. Also, donation links. Thank you to everybody on Patreon, patreon.com/The New American Media. You can sign up to support independent journalism for $5 a month as little as, I think 5, 15, 100, 1,000, 10,000, however much you would like to donate a month. It is super crucial to our efforts. Can't emphasize that enough for all the thank yous to everybody who has signed up there and the people who've tossed something in the tip jar over the years. Venmo and Cash App at Brian Engelman. And then on PayPal, fuzzinstallment@yahoo.com, all scrolling at the bottom of your screen. So if you are so inclined to sign up and support, I appreciate that. Let's take a look at the comments. Okay, yes, there it is. We got audio. Thank you, everybody screaming at me in the beginning. I'm sure that intro was fantastic. Yep, Deb Aruni, the not San Francisco regular. Nick Adams, Trump just told the press to stop talking about Epstein. Good luck with that. We're going to talk about it louder. Brian, did I get the Tucker link I sent you at 6 a.m.? Who was it? Tucker and who, and where did you send it? I juggle 1,000 accounts, so I don't know if I saw it, but I have been sharing some Tucker stuff for sure. All right. Then let's go ahead. Yes, I have a lottery plan as well. I already know which building I'm going to purchase to expand the New American Media into. I already know where we're going. Like I'm visualizing it. Like it's already happened. I need to get into it. It's interesting. But yes. All right. We're going to get into all the news without further delay. Put your comments into the sidebar here. Hit like, hit subscribe, tell a friend, buckle up, and let's get ready for today's program.
guide to the truth. thenewamericanmedia.com.
All right, it's been a whirlwind of a news cycle, hasn't it? Whirlwind of a news cycle. So I want to jump into the news and get this. Nick said that's the first time seeing the intro. That's your first time seeing our intro? And by the way, I intend on expanding the intro. There are so many interesting conversations we've had with so many interesting people over the last 14 years. Yeah, that one, Blake Wally helped us put that one together. That was a pivot off of a project he made, but I think I figured out now how to play the video, record the video, then upload the video, and then get it back in. I think I'll have a workaround, and I do have it as one of my top priorities to revamp the entirety of the TNAM Daily Show intro, because it's sort of the agree to disagree show. I just sort of repurposed it. What stands out to you, Nick Adams, first time watching the intro? Yeah, I mean, it's been a wild ride. Good morning, David in Ontario. Deb, not from San Francisco. Nick Adams from, he was from Lewiston, Maine, and now he's in what, Florida? Is Kenneth in yet? Not seeing Kenneth. Patriot Warrior, Texas. Howdy, sir. MAGA John boy. All right. But yeah, Nick Adams, what jumped out at you from that intro? Curious if that was your first watch. What was your main takeaway? All right. I want to jump into the news, and I want to do this backward because it seems like I never save time to get into our X feed. But I want to do that. I want to maybe start in our X feed and work our way backward. By the way, pinned right here, this is our interview with John B. Wells. And it's also our Patreon link if anybody wanted to sign up right there. We asked Grok if it was accurate regarding this cloud seeding. So Grok is saying that the facts check out on rainmaker seeding clouds over south central Texas on July 2nd. In massive floods devastating Hill County starting July 4, killing over 100. Oh, it's up to 100 now. More than 100 now. Actually, now I'm kind of curious. Let me ask Grok, what was the dead or missing count from Hurricane Helene flooding? We're going to take a look here. What does Grok say? Dead or missing? 251 across 6 states, with North Carolina the highest fatalities at 108. South Carolina 46, Georgia 33, Florida 20, Tennessee 11, Virginia 2. These figures make Helene the deadliest mainland hurricane in the U.S. since Hurricane Katrina in 2005. Uh, 600 early, let's see, missing in North Carolina, early reports. North Carolina down to just 10 active cases of missing persons from 92. So yeah, when this happened, it was hard to kind of figure out. There were viral claims of 20,000 deaths or 900 unidentified bodies. You know, and in the absence of information, speculation will run rampant. That is obvious. But Grok does say there were rainmaker seeding clouds. Experts across the board say there's zero causal link, saying that seeding can boost rain by maybe 20% in small clouds, not epic deluges like this, which stem from Tropical Storm Barry remnants. Coincidence? Probably, unless you buy conspiracy vibes. I'm skeptical of weather meddling too, but science points to nature here. All right. So we will stay tuned on this. And we're going to keep peeling into it. I think there's some stuff that we shared on Instagram that we can talk about. And there's probably stuff in here. Also, let's do a let me see. Nick saying you've referenced the intro a couple times. It's cool to see it all. And yes, he's in Florida. Alex Jones at the RNC. Yeah, it's a quick interview, but I asked him specifically, what do you have to say for all the never Trumpers? His answer was hilarious. It's on YouTube if you do a search. All right. So let's take a look here. In case you missed it, this is a story from Reuters in June of 2023. In order to understand where we are, let's take a look at where we've been.
JP Morgan has agreed to pay
JP Morgan agreed to pay
$290 million to women who say they were abused by Jeffrey Epstein when they were girls, but the implications go far beyond just the financial settlement. It's a sign that the bank is too big for one person to manage.
$290 million paid to victims of sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein, who was a client of the bank for 15 years. It's a sign the lender is too big for one person to manage.
Epstein, a rich New Yorker who killed himself in a jail cell a few years ago while awaiting trial on charges of trafficking minors.
This guy's name, Jeffrey Goldfarb.
Of trafficking minors, was a JP Morgan client for 15 years. The bank cut him loose in 2013, but long before then, Epstein had pleaded guilty to soliciting prostitution from a minor. JP Morgan's boss, Jamie Dimon, said under questioning in relation to the victim's lawsuit that he had no idea who Epstein was until he was arrested in 2019. Dimon apparently missed all the media coverage, and none of his top deputies, who were at odds over what to do about Epstein, told him. The bank has performed well financially.
Nobody bothered to mention it.
But this isn't its first embarrassing or costly scandal either. There was the infamous London whale trading debacle, a relationship with Ponzi scheme mastermind Bernard Madoff, among others. Regulators have forced it to get better at spotting and stopping clients from laundering money, and JP Morgan has paid out billions of dollars in fines and legal settlements over the years. JP Morgan's 300,000 employees and nearly $4 trillion of assets have created a financial institution that international authorities have deemed to be the most complex and interconnected on the planet. Dimon, as good a CEO as he may be, has finite powers of perception, and there's only so much that technology and risk controls can do for such a sprawling operation.
Epstein involved, linked, partnered. But, some people will say, oh, you can't blame JP Morgan or anyone else any more than you can blame a cell phone company for someone committing a crime, plotting it on the cell phone. It's like, they're just the service. They're not good or bad. What is banking? It's just a transfer from point A to point B. Yeah, maybe.
One solution would be to break up JP Morgan into more streamlined businesses that are easier to watch over. Before going to such extremes, however, there's a simpler solution that might go some way to help it. Split up the chairman and CEO jobs, both of which Dimon has held for his 17 years at the helm.
17 years at the helm, arguing maybe they should split it up to have better oversight. Well, just keep your eyes peeled on JP Morgan, keep your eyes peeled on Epstein as you follow the money here. I got plenty of Epstein stuff to get to, so I'm just going to go through the feed as we find the stories. Just the News here reports ODNI task force to review the politicization of intelligence and probe election integrity. Carrie Lake says, I'm thrilled to hear that Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard's DIG group will be examining both the 2020 and the 22 elections. I did everything in my power to expose our rotten elections, and I would love nothing more than to see transparency and accountability. Well, cool story. Where's the Epstein files? Where are the JFK files? Cool story. Where are the 9/11 files? Cool story. Can we find out what's happening? How much are we supposed to care about the next? Oh, there's going to be a bombshell. It's sitting right on my desk. We're not, imagine if there's videos out there. We're not going to re-victimize those women. Also, there are no videos. Bondi and Patel are lying right to our faces. How much are we supposed to hold our breath for Tulsi Gabbard? Oh yeah, maybe we'll really figure out that 2020 and 22 were not what they were purported to be. what they were reported to be, purported to be. Okay, I'm going to hold my breath because there's a plan. Trust the plan, right? How about no? How about no? But all right, examining both the 20 and 22 elections, I think we need to investigate every election. How long have the big blue cities been turning in state toppling numbers of ballots that get counted as totally legitimate? Have we verified that 100% of these are American citizen and that we can verify this and run a full forensic audit? Like, are we certain that we have anything resembling a free and fair election? I don't know. Well, here's Elon Musk. Let's do a throwback here. Talking about the Epstein list. This is worth listening to on Tucker Carlson Network on X.
You know, I think part of why Kamala's getting so much support.
And I guess this was from, I think, during the election, because he's referring to Kamala as a candidate. So I don't have the timeline here. Naomi Seibt. I don't know who that is, but let's check out the video.
Is that if Trump wins, that Epstein client list is going to become public.
Yes.
And some of those billionaires behind Kamala are terrified of that outcome.
Yeah. Do you think Reid Hoffman's uncomfortable?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Gates.
And Gates.
Yeah.
And I only ask that because you just look at them and you're like, that's a nervous person right there. I don't know. I mean, I assume you know them. Yeah.
Yes. Reid Hoffman was my vice president of business development at PayPal.
Yeah.
24 years ago.
Does he seem nervous to you?
Yeah, I mean, he's terrified of a Trump victory.
Because of the disclosure that would follow?
I think, yeah, I mean, I think he's certainly ideologically not aligned with Trump anyway, but I think he is concerned about the Epstein situation. Like something might actually, the DOJ might actually move forward.
There are a lot of videos, apparently. Those rooms on the island, and I think out in New Mexico, were wired for video.
Right.
And
where's the video? I mean, between Diddy and Epstein, there's probably several thousand hours of footage here.
Several thousand hours of footage. That's great. Diddy and Epstein basically both. Well, I mean, what do you think happened? There's a question of the day. Agree or disagree? I totally believe the official story that Jeffrey Epstein offed himself. Do you agree or disagree that I totally believe the official Jeffrey Epstein story that he offed himself? Agree or disagree? Tell me in the comments in a full sentence. But yeah, Elon kind of pointing out, Epstein and Diddy. Because, by the way, isn't it just as likely that Epstein was shuffled out of there? Out of that facility? As he was that he was offed by a member of the deep state, that an assassin took him out? I mean, do we agree with the official story or do we not?
Mexico were wired for video.
I don't.
Right.
And
where's the video? I mean, between Diddy and Epstein, there's probably several thousand hours of footage here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird that the people on those videos.
Thousands of hours of footage, but no lists of perpetrators, no arrests. Why is Ghislaine Maxwell in jail then for no victims and no crimes?
Are lecturing the rest of us about our moral failings, isn't it?
Yeah, it's weird.
What is that?
Well, I mean, part of how they deflect attention from themselves is by, criticizing the morals of others.
Yes.
So it's sort of like a preemptive moral strike.
A preemptive moral strike. Patriot Warrior saying disagree that he offed himself. Deb says disagree if you're a thinking person. David does not believe the story. Nick is holding out. Nick, what are you holding out on here? I really can't make my mind up on this one. For what reason do you maybe want to believe the official version of the story that Epstein offed himself and there is no clients. I mean, there's no criminal activity. What is Ghislaine Maxwell in jail for? There's thousands of hours of clients. It's known. Why is nobody getting arrested? Because the whole reason they did it was for blackmail. They're out there claiming that that's not even the case right now. I mean, none of this makes any sense. Oh, but don't worry. On the same day, Benjamin Netanyahu will give Trump a nomination for a Nobel Peace Prize. Allegedly. Did that actually happen? I've seen it reported multiple times. Completely unrelated, right? Completely unrelated. Because it's been rumored that Jeffrey Epstein was an operative for a Middle Eastern country. And by Middle Eastern, they were referring to perhaps Netanyahu's area where Maxwell was linked up. Those are the stories there. It would make sense to Nick that Epstein would have offed himself. But it doesn't to me. That's a non-starter because he was on the witness protection. He was on the you have to protect him from himself list. He was in the special areas where you don't have anything to hang anything from. Self-harm is what you're being protected from in these surveillance cells. It was like the most high-profile custodian or the most high-profile client, tenant, resident of our justice system. The only way he was offed was either intentionally taken out, intentionally given the window and the tools to take himself out, or he was removed and they pretended that he was taken out. I guess that's maybe the only question mark, since none of this makes a damn bit of sense to me. I mean, what did you see? You saw the side of a head that the earlobe may or may not look close enough. Are you an earlobe expert? I don't know. The hairline was exact, the bushy eyebrows. You saw one photograph. Oh, don't worry, they released video. Did they? They released video. The camera jumps ahead right at the 59-minute mark. I'll show you that in a second. There has to be a list of clients. There were thousands. We all saw that. They can't keep lying to us. They can, but we can disconnect from them and just stop believing anything else they have to say. If we're going to be lied to about this, maybe that's the price that they have to pay. We're not going to believe another damn thing they ever have to say. And if that's what they want to try to get away with, good luck to them. Here's your crown king, nothing. Nobody buys into any of your stuff anymore. Nick says Epstein was Mossad, just like his daddy, who fell off his boat, allegedly. Deb saying, Nick, perhaps if you see Tucker's latest interview with lots of information, it may help to decide. It's best to reserve judgment if you don't have all the facts, and any good jury would do that. I mean, Epstein's been up to this for a long time, and Clinton was complete. How many times did he go on Lolita Express? I know, look, and we're both brainstorming, Nick. We're all just... I didn't want to go too hard in the paint yesterday because I was so pissed off. I don't know that I have the rest of the answers today. But I just can't believe this is the story they're going with. I don't buy it. Yep, and Deb's giving Nick some kudos there. You're not one of the sheep. You're looking at everything, and that's good. Patriot Warrior says, I don't trust anything that our government tells us. I mean, tell me a time that's been a bad stance to take. That's good standard operating protocol. Whatever the government's telling us, we got to just believe it's not that. Why does it have to be this way? Why does it have to be this way?
Yes. I mean, as I said, I think those who are saying Trump is a threat to democracy are themselves actually the threat to democracy.
It feels like we're getting to a place where the rest of us know too much. Do you know what I mean?
Shit, that's maybe where I've been for a little while now, which is why I'm just kind of like, Tucker hit the nail on the head. So now what? Now we know too much.
Democracy are themselves actually the
Great.
threat to democracy.
Like we did something here.
It feels like we're getting to a place where the rest of us know too much. Is this, do you know what I mean? I mean, it's easier to live in a society where you don't really know what the people in charge are doing or why they're doing it. But now, thanks, I would say, largely to X,
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say that.
Yeah.
We do know a lot. Not everything, but we know a lot. And I wonder, where does that, like, what happens next now that we know all this? The kidnapper's shown us his face. Like, what happens? I wonder, where does that, like, what happens next now that we know all this? The kidnapper's shown us his face. Like, what happens?
Well, I think if Trump wins, we can do some house cleaning and shed light on things.
Elon Musk had hope like the rest of us. But if the FBI refuses to investigate, the swamp is deeper than we assumed, says Naomi. I'd like to hear that conversation redone today. Here's Russell Brand discussing him, both of these cases.
Where's that list? Where's the list,
you
baby?
think the timing of the Diddy, this and
Who's he talking with there? I don't recognize this guy. Sorry, they didn't identify who this is. I don't recognize it.
no list, is it sort of like a shift? Like, hey, all that stuff that was kind of building up, these people are doing all this crazy stuff behind closed doors, and now it's almost like none of it happened. That wasn't a thing.
I think that you can tell when it gets near real power. I've known this for a while because I've been working in regular media, you might call it, films, TV, print journalism, podcasts, a variety of media, live media. And I've migrated into different spaces as I kind of trusted instincts that worked as a comic. Oh, just tell the truth, and just tell the truth about what you feel. You know, you can look at my stand-up. It's all out there. This is what, like, and I've always been kind of somewhat anti-establishment. So what I'm starting to sense is that as you get near real power, the risks increase. That's what I believe. So, per your point, Jake, about the Diddy case and the Epstein list,
Jake.
a lot of people believe that Diddy may have been able to cut some kind of deal
Did he cut a deal?
to just keep his mouth shut and not say who was at those parties that may have been embarrassed. You guys look at the same media we look at. You see the kind of things that are said on X. You know the kind of people that are likely on the Epstein list. Do you imagine that there's a point where the powerful, their interests consolidate? Let me give you a really clear example. During the First and Second World Wars.
All right, we'll get into the history lesson in a second, but Deb's saying, I fear Elon made that Epstein comment about Trump when they were fighting because he saw things and was given a reality check. I don't know. It's disturbing. I mean, how many options are there? Either Trump's involved or he's not. Either Trump's ensnared or he's not. But it looks like he's acting like he doesn't want anything coming out. For what reason? We don't know. But it's either because he's a part of it or he's not. So you branch it down. You branch it down the tree. I don't know how to show you. Yeah, I guess it branches out. Trump's involved. Trump is not. Well, if this, then how many other scenarios present themselves on one side? Then vice versa.
Particularly the first, the British royal family and the German elites were intermarried. and interconnected. Queen Victoria was married to a German. So while like the population were literally killing one another in the most sort of brutal form of warfare imaginable and conceivable up to that point, industrialized warfare had gone from sort of analog warfare to mechanical, brutal warfare. Like the elites were still interconnected and intercommunicating, i.e. there's a strata of society where your economic and
that's strata. Straw. He's got the 33 tattoo. Interesting.
still interconnected and intercommunicating, i.e. there's a strata of society where your brutal...
You couldn't see that because... I feel like I'm finding a mosquito coming after me again. I did... If you were watching last week, I suspected there was one. Oh, and then I found one. Oh, did I find one? And I got it. Anyway, I digress.
Warfare had gone from sort of analog warfare to mechanical, brutal warfare. Like the elites were still interconnected.
Right there on his arm, he's got the 33 on his left wrist. Just interesting to know. Deb saying it's also possible that Trump looks guilty for something he didn't do, like framing someone with pics, etc., but opening that Pandora's box is too risky. Patriot Warrior, what about you? You disagree that he offed himself and you don't trust what our government tells us. So what's Occam's razor? What's the most likely reason here to you?
And intercommunicating, i.e. there's a strata of society where your economic and communicating, i.e. there's a strata of society where your economic and social ties transcend national ties. I mean, and why wouldn't they? Like, if you're super rich and you're able to travel around the world, go anywhere, do whatever you want. Like, do you remember during COVID, like just celebrity parties carried on and people went to islands and had weddings and stuff while other people were getting shouted at for not wearing a mask in a supermarket?
Oh, yeah, we remember that. California was one of the worst.
That was an indication that society is stratified. The thing that's interesting about socialism is it's saying that in order to...
Hold on. Unrelated comment. Chinese mosquito drone, beware. Elaborate on that, Patriot Warrior.
Control corporate and commercial...
I've been thinking about that subject a lot, though.
Global power. We need to empower the state and make the state responsible and responsive to...
Oh, are you saying that's what might be... getting me a Chinese mosquito drone? Okay. I need an EMP.
Saying that in order to control corporate and commercial global power, we need to empower the state and make the state responsible and responsive to the people. But it never does that, does it? So sort of that kind of socialism that's born out of industrialization is over. That's never going to work again. We need a new form of politics and government where your individual conscience can somehow be mapped onto what happens in your family, your community, your tribe, your nation, if necessary. But I would interrogate each one of them taxonomies and categories. What do you mean nation? Do we really need a nation? So returning to the question that Jake offered us, like, do you think deals have been done? Yeah, because Ghislaine Maxwell is otherwise in jail for trafficking children to nobody at all. All of them rumours we've heard are likely outlines and foreshadowing of some kind of truth.
So could he have cut a deal? Backdoor deal to keep quiet. Similar deal struck to keep the Epstein list under wraps. If you want to listen to the... Well, let me get to that in a second. David saying he has a hard time believing Trump's involved in the acts like he's been accused of, and why wait until now to bring this out on him? He's supposed to be gone already. Oh, they were supposed to be rid of Trump. And then you're like, well, if they would go so far as to off him in Butler, Pennsylvania. Oh, you missed. Let's do it again on the golf course a month later. You're like, yeah, they really did not plan on him being around. You're like, oh, well, maybe if the bad guys hate him, maybe we will get to the bottom of some of this. Partnering up with the bad guys here, it just doesn't. Is it on brand? Is Trump a con man? Do you trust the plan? Once again, back to that crap. I mean, it's fun to say, oh, there's probably a plan in place. Okay. Cool story. Same plan that let Biden get away with 4 years after being installed. Seems kind of like a shitty plan. Oh no, Trump's keeping it under wraps because he's negotiating a ceasefire with the deep state. Oh, okay. There you go. Sure. There you go. John Boy saying somebody from the deep state was allowed in to get Epstein and either hung him or took him out, and he's back on his little island. Not sure if he's alive or gone. I don't know. David saying he doesn't think that Trump's involved in the dark child abuse stuff. Deb doesn't either. And look, I mean, it seems like the consistent thing Trump has been doing is trying to go after the abusers. It sort of seems like that, but that's why this is so head-scratching. Here's Matt Gaetz, shared from MJ Truth Ultra, talking with Benny Johnson. Let's just take a listen to this. Is this why Matt Gaetz wasn't allowed to be Attorney General?
You got a 99%
on
issue.
Epstein. Bill Barr is the one that needs to be called in to give sworn testimony on what happened there at Bureau of Prisons, because that is not that. There's just no way.
There's no way. It was their job to keep these people from harm, from other inmates, from any assassin, from themselves. It was their job to keep Epstein breathing. You don't accidentally let this happen. This was intentional. Now, did they spring him and pretend that he was offed? Did you take him out like what's that, Clinton body count? They accused the Clintons of going after, I don't even know the latest number. But if you get in the way, the Clintons take care of you. And we know that Bill Clinton was rumored to have been on that Lolita Express how many times? 40 times? David says, I actually do believe something's going on, and most of the people in the front don't have much control of this. I think much of the info would be more useful if not exposed right away. Deb saying the puppet masters pulling the strings as usual. David saying, think about how Trump makes any country do whatever he wants. I mean, he's playing the cards aggressively. Patriot Warrior reminds us that Pam Bondi said, the list is on my desk. 2 days ago, there is no list. Earlier this morning, she said the list will never be released. Lies. All right, let's get back to Matt Gaetz.
The story you're getting is the real story there. No freaking way, and Bill Barr knows it.
I think most people believe that, right? And like, it's like no way that that's.
I actually think it was I actually think that on Epstein, it was a foreign government that took him out. I don't think it was a domestic enterprise.
Really?
I do. I'm not going to say which one, but I don't think it was domestic inspired to take out of him. I think that was a
take a guess. Who's he guessing?
Foreign operation, government sponsored.
So foreign operation took out Epstein inside of our prison.
Yes.
So they must have been allowed to.
Oh, I think it was in concert with people in our government.
Wow.
But not at like some, low level guard getting bribed kind of way.
Yeah.
At a state to state level.
So that's probably a lot of partied interests in keeping that under wraps.
You better believe it. Weapon systems at play, global deals at play.
Interesting. You have evidence to back that up?
I just am positing it as a theory.
Wow. Okay. You got it.
Uh-huh. David mentioning how it seems like Trump is always able to get countries to submit. They whine about stuff, but Trump usually gets his way. Yeah, but maybe not any country. Or maybe all except for one. Not sure which one, huh? David says no one is really too out of control other than Israel. Oh, maybe that one. It's not like any of us are inventing the Mossad link. Like, this is the reason we're talking about is because everybody knows. It's not a secret that the accusations have been here since the beginning of this situation. Deb saying Pam Bondi's name is Mud. That phrase has come up several different times in the past week for me. I was having an in-depth conversation about my name is Mud, and that led me to playing Primus. My name is Mud, if you remember that song. David saying, I'd say this whole operation is a difficult one. So many evil people in positions of power. Agreed. Also, let's play this report from Seattle. Let's check in. We're bouncing around as we find the stories. This is interesting in Seattle.
It was crazy. It started on Saturday with a worship event in Cal Anderson Park. And that event has, of course, been labeled by the media as some sort of anti-LGBT type rally, and it wasn't. That event offered free haircuts to kids, free bike giveaways, free groceries for the community, free prayer for people who were in need of it, and then it also incorporated a worship element at the end of that outreach. And that was when we were swarmed by hundreds of Antifa militants. And I'll only correct one thing in the reporting of your story. They weren't throwing water balloons. They were throwing water balloons filled with urine at Christians who stood in the park and were assaulted for the high crime of worshiping Jesus in a public space. So that happened on Saturday, and then the mayor followed it up. An hour after that event ended, police officers were hospitalized, good church people were injured. He followed that up with a press statement blaming the church for the violence and saying that we are advocating values that are antithetical to Seattle's values.
I just figured I'd give you a check-in on one of the blue states, see how things are going in Seattle. Tim Pool is going to break down Epstein. Of course, we're not going to be able to get away from Epstein, so let's just dive into it all and look at all the takes and jokes and frustrations we can. Here's Tim Pool. Is there sound on this clip? Thought there was sound on this clip. FBI, okay. They're showing this video. And they're saying it. Hang on, how do I get... Is it full screen? 54, 55. There you go. Take a look at the bottom of the screen. 58, 59. And then it jumps at 59 seconds. This is what was released. A door that doesn't look like the door. By the way, what is all this just junk and clutter laying around in the hallways? You're not allowed to have junk and clutter in the hallways. What even is this? And who was that? Huh. Trump was number 45. He's standing at number 46 door. That's Biden. Trump earlier put out that he suggested that Biden has been gone for several years now. Oh, look, they're comms. They're communications, right? They're comms. Look, they're comms. It's 46. Pam Bondi has an answer for that. She says the camera does that every night. Oh, okay. That's super. Because we were told the cameras weren't working. Remember? The cameras didn't work. There's that. Deb saying the way the deep state remains in control is to keep the masses confused and in fear. David wondering so many people are brainwashed. And that is a problem as well. I know. Okay, so Pam Bondi has an answer for that. She says, that's what always happens when we're trying to prove that there's footage and it hasn't been messed with. 46. Opened. Guy goes in. There you go. Guy closes the door. What are we watching? So Tim Pool's asking, so here's the Justice website memo. Let me full screen that again. Not only is 1 minute missing from the footage, the frame jumps and a dude walks in and enters one of the rooms. What is this footage supposed to be? And then they said this was the video or the photo of Epstein's prison door per photos the DOJ released after he allegedly offed himself. The video released by the FBI shows a completely different cell. I mean, what are we even talking about here? May not even be the actual door. A 5-minute clip, enhanced version, 11-hour long clip. The trash can from below is suddenly upstairs outside of his cell. You're like, what is all this junk and clutter? All those areas have to be kept clean. I mean, everybody knows that. Let's make it simple. We know nothing. I mean, all right. Eagle Wings says FBI was investigating 36 young girls Epstein arred and trafficked until Epstein agreed to rat out Wall Street hedge fund execs for laundering money. Then feds agreed to bury the federal charges. Here, the FBI admits Epstein is their informant. Former FBI Director Wray lied through his ass to the American people, according to Eagle Wings. Epstein provided information to the FBI as agreed upon. So from that point forward, he was working with the United States. So he kept money, or he kept ensnaring people in the honey traps, the honey pots, the spider webs. So at least from that point on, he was an asset and said, just keep doing what you're doing. And we're going to put everybody under our control. And then we're going to make it look like you off yourself. So you're going to have to go in witness protection, but there's really no other way to do this. Then they fill in the corridors at the island with concrete. What? Come on, guys. None of this shit makes a lick of sense. This report showing you allegedly from 2008. So wasn't that technically the end of George W. Bush? Didn't everybody get a confusing letter that freaked everybody out at the funeral of George H.W. Bush? They got a letter, a memo, a correspondence that allegedly said we know, and it had pictures in it. Are any of these debunked things? If so, let's hear it. Well, Scott Adams has a take here, and I listened to this yesterday.
When I started talking about politics back in 2016, and I got a little bit of traction, and people started listening to me and reading my blog posts and stuff, that caused a series of events where I got to meet people who knew the real story behind a variety of things. You know, not the Epstein thing necessarily, but just the real story behind a variety of things. How often was the real story the same as the one that was in the news? And the answer is never.
Never.
Not once. Every story that is sort of a big story, it certainly has elements that are true. I mean, I believe the president really did take a bullet in the ear.
Some people don't believe that. We had John Fugelsang on. He was didn't really seem to buy into that story too much.
etc. So there are parts of it that are definitely true. I do believe that airplanes hit the World Trade
And were any other countries involved?
Towers. I mean, that part's true. But generally speaking, the interpretation or the real story behind everything is fake. Let me say that again. The real story behind everything, just everything, is fake. So, no, you're never going to know about Epstein. You're never going to know about JFK. You'll probably never know about Martin Luther King. You'll probably never know about Bobby Kennedy Sr. You're never gonna know for sure about the Warren Report. And I don't think we'll even know for sure if we landed on the moon. So I've now gone full Joe Rogan, which is, I used to think it was obvious we had landed on the moon. I did not question that for 1 second.
Used to.
And when I saw people saying, "Oh, I'm not so sure," I would say to myself, wow. Well, people who will believe anything.
Crazy.
They actually think we didn't really go to the moon.
Bunch of lunatic.
You know what I believe now? Same thing that Joe Rogan believes, I think. I don't like to characterize other people's opinions, but I think I got this one right. That he doesn't know that we didn't go to the moon, and I would agree with that. I don't know that. But if tomorrow I learned that we had not gone to the moon and it was somehow confirmed, would I act surprised? Or would I say, damn it, you can see the signs. I should have known that. It would be the latter. It would be me saying, I should have been more forceful in saying that was probably fake. So let me be really clear. I don't have any evidence that I personally find convincing that it was faked. But everything's in play. Everything from the food pyramid to the
everything is in play at this point because, like Patriot Warrior said, I don't trust anything our government tells us. And that's not an us problem. That's a United States government problem. If they wouldn't consistently lie to us, maybe we'd actually get real information and we wouldn't have to be in this frustrating period of time where we have to dig out the lies and separate it from facts on every topic.
Vaccinations to everything. It all looks fake to me.
Yeah.
It just all looks fake. I don't know if we know why the Ukraine war is happening. I don't know if we really know what was happening in Gaza. I don't think we really know what was the full situation with Iran and its nuclear weapons. I feel like it's all fake. And when we're talking about the news, we're just doing some kind of parlor game where people who don't know anything about anything act like we do, just so we have something to talk about. That's what it feels like. But I want to be clear, while I don't believe the official version of any big story, just none of them, I also don't automatically believe the conspiracy theory.
And it's smart to... It gets easy to say, well, if the known liars are moving their lips, I know they're lying to me. Well, maybe they are, and they probably are. But only knowing what Nancy Pelosi says to believe the opposite, that's not an evidence. That's not a proof. That's a good starting place of assumption to start looking at a story from the opposite perspective of what Jamie Raskin is saying or Chuck Schumer is saying. Whatever they're saying, just believe the opposite. Like, what is that might work, but it's not evidence. You can't just believe the conspiracy theory. You have to actually earn evidence points by proving the conspiracy theory. These are not the same.
So if I tell you I don't believe, one of the big stories like the moon landing, it doesn't mean that I believe that Stanley Kubrick filmed it. He might have. Maybe. but it doesn't mean I automatically believe that.
All right, so that's interesting perspective. Schellenberger hasn't been holding back, and I don't think we should be. Let's see. Well. Hello, well, 32. 32. That's almost the name of the number that Russell Brand had tattooed on him. Well, 32. Where are you watching from? Are you a sir or a madam? Hello. Asking, can we agree the Trump comments about Epstein during the media availability today might be the worst he has ever made in his political career? During the cabinet meeting when Pam was asked the question. Do you have a link? Can you tag us on X? Because we've been doing the show and we've been doing show prepping. So if there's something that came out recently, I might not have seen it. Trump was getting mad. People are still talking about Epstein, though he's been dead for years. Okay, my friend did send me that since the show has been going. Let's see if I can find that. By the way, Dan Bongino says, we're doubling down, not letting up. Tags Trump saying, the FBI under the direction of Kash Patel and Deputy Director Bongino, back to the basics, locking up criminals and cleaning up America's streets. We have the greatest law enforcement professionals in the world, but politics and corrupt leadership often prevented them from doing their job. That is no longer the case, and now they have been unleashed to do their jobs, and they're doing just that. Keep it up, make America safe again. We said, how is letting Diddy and Epstein off the hook doubling down? This might be the darkest chapter of American history, and nobody is resolving the evil deeds. So, I get that it's not like Trump flipped the switch on Diddy and Epstein, but it feels like it. Let's see if I can type Trump Bondi and find. All right, here we go. Let's play it.
Sure. Your memo and release yesterday on Jeffrey Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for a American or foreign intelligence agency. The former labor secretary who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta, he allegedly said that he did work for intelligence.
Okay, get to the question. You stutter and stammering. Come on.
Intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of his death?
Yeah, sure. Could I just interrupt? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy.
Oh, this is awful, Trump. Yes, we're talking about it, and we've never had resolution to this.
Could I just interrupt? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy?
Texas. Oh, the Texas flood. Yeah, we're talking about this. You're damn right we're talking about it.
Are people still talking?
Look at Bondi's body language. She can't be trying to get away from Trump any more than she. Look at that. She's like slanted diagonal, the opposite direction, if you're into studying body language.
Talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe.
This makes me sick.
You're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this where we're having some of the greatest.
Yes, at a time like this. We've been waiting years and years and years to figure out what's been going on and why our government has been working against us. Year after year after year after year. This is very disappointing.
Having some of the greatest success. And
yeah, you're having great success. So continue it by talking about what we've all wanted to know. Who's on the list, who's compromised, and who's going to jail for abusing the kids, and which entity was pulling the puppet strings behind the scenes, and what are the repercussions. We're sick of this shit.
And also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
It seems like a desecration. Who is giving Trump these talking points?
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February, I did
an
interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I said I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was,
yes, because there is a client list. You either yes, there's a client list.
Ask a question about the client list, and my response was it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that.
What point did she think she just clarified here? Ooh, that's what you meant. Uh-huh. So it's been investigated for a decade, 2/3 of a decade. Where are the criminal charges against the abusers? Where are we going to out the influence makers, the politicians? What point does Pam Bondi think she, I was referring to the entirety of all the things. Yeah, so in the entirety of it, where are they? I didn't say the word. I said that word, not the other word. Where are the indictments? Are you even... Is this thing on? Remember when Elon went through Doge and sent emails to federal employees saying, just send me a message back with a sentence explaining who are you and what is it you would say it is that you do here? Pam Bondi, this is like the most high profile case we have. You've been on the job for half a year. Where are the indictments? Where are the charges against the perpetrators? Huh? Yeah, Trump jumping in before Pam can answer. Wait, you're still talking about Epstein? Terrible talking point. He was acting. He was told to make sure you do it that way, and it looked like shit. That's me saying that. Well, 32, checking in from Miami. All right, hello from Miami. To tag, if you want to tag, go ahead. Here, let me put it on the screen here to our new viewer. At the bottom of the screen, it'll say on X, we're at American_media_. You can tag us on X. Very, very bad. David saying he thinks it's part of the show. Trump was literally joking about Kamala 4 minutes before this question. Yeah, it's the #1 story. So get back on task. Get back on point. Deb saying Trump's treating American people disrespectfully, like we have amnesia. This pivoting is not working. It makes him look like he has something to hide. You damn right. Yeah, reviewed doesn't mean revealed in Pam's mind. Promises made, promises not kept. They seem to be in no rush for anything but finances.
Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein.
You know, when they add adjectives, disgusting Jeffrey Epstein, it sounds like they're trying too hard.
Video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child porn is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day. To him being an agent.
What is she even talking about? Nobody wants to see that. They want to see the videos that they had in every bedroom to ensnare everybody in their illegal activity, in their gross activity, their disgusting activity. Who's on the tapes? Name them.
I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that. And an agent, I have no knowledge. It's never going to see the light of day. To him being an agent.
Him being an agent when allegedly in 2000, what was it? I just showed it on X. 08, 09, was it? Or was it 19? There was at least one report saying that Epstein started singing and turning what? So he's an asset of the deep state at this point for many years?
I have no knowledge about that.
You have no knowledge of him being an asset.
We can get back to you on that.
You're going to circle back, Jen Psaki?
And the minute missing from the video,
look at how hunched over President Trump is. Is this a usual posture move from President Trump? Completely slunched and slouched over.
Released the video showing definitively the video was not conclusive, but
there would be video in the camera cell. I'm sorry, there'd be video from the camera inside of the cell. That's a better way to make that statement. You don't just get outside the cell. These are like the special cells where you can't allow people to harm themselves.
evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every year,
What did you learn from the Bureau of Prisons?
And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every year, every night, they redo
every year, every night.
that video. Is old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night. And that's it on Epstein.
That's it. Man, Marco Rubio couldn't even, he just stared straight ahead, hoping he could get out of there. Awful. We're going to ask, is this the lowest moment of either Trump administration? This video sucks. This answer sucks. Everything about this sucks. All right. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. Michael Schellenberger has thoughts.
Hey everyone, it's Mike Schellenberger writing with Alex Gutentag for Public. For the last decade, the media has claimed that the idea that America is ruled by a secret government of deep state intelligence agencies like the CIA and FBI is just a right-wing conspiracy theory. Journalists at outlets like the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, and NPR have portrayed claims about a deep...
Why did it reset?
Schellenberger writing with secret government of deep state intelligence agencies like the CIA and FBI is just a right-wing conspiracy theory. Journalists at outlets like the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, and NPR have portrayed claims about a deep state as paranoid fabrications pushed by President Donald Trump and his supporters to discredit legitimate government institutions. They insisted that accusations of political bias or covert influence by agencies like the CIA or FBI had no basis in fact and served only to inflame public distrust. And yet, over the same period, investigative reporting, including by the two of us, and official disclosures revealed that these agencies interfered in domestic politics in ways that aligned with that very narrative. The FBI launched a surveillance operation against the Trump campaign based on unverified opposition research. Dozens of former intelligence officials falsely claimed the Hunter Biden laptop story bore the classic earmarks of Russian disinformation just weeks before the 2020 election. The Department of Homeland Security, along with the FBI and other agencies, coordinated with social media platforms to suppress speech under the banner of combating misinformation. These actions taken together suggest not a shadowy cabal, but a real and expanding infrastructure of state-aligned influence aimed at shaping public perception and countering populist dissent, just as the so-called conspiracy theorists had claimed. The strongest argument against the existence of a secret government run by the deep state was the re-election of Donald Trump in 2024. If agencies like the CIA, FBI, and Department of Homeland Security truly exercised covert and unchecked control over American politics, it is difficult to explain how their most outspoken critic and avowed enemy returned to power. Trump did not merely criticize the intelligence community, he ran on a platform promising its reform. He vowed to purge partisan operatives, dismantle what he called politically weaponized agencies.
This is a very detailed report. I could sit here and watch this, but in the interest of moving forward, I'm just going to skip to the part where he says, many within the Trump administration acknowledge this and note that this is hardly the end of the Epstein affair. Quote, this is a total fucking disaster. Someone within the intelligence community told us this afternoon as we were going to press with this editorial. Yeah, it'll confirm the fear that even the most populist and combative president can be captured or neutralized by the very system he vowed to dismantle, and it'll lose much of the legitimacy it gained by surviving and overcoming the lawfare, censorship, and weaponization of the deep state against it. Patriot Warrior asking if we've ever dug deep into the JFK assassination. Oh, yeah. What's your take on it? There's always a take on it. Yeah, we're supposed to figure out, was the CIA behind... Now, why is... There we go. Was the CIA behind the assassination of Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? I mean, we were really unable to learn such things. Well, what if certain families were involved and those families have children and they're still involved? I mean, I get it, but anyway, by the way, here's a reminder. Epstein, here's Pam Bondi on hidden camera.
Do you know when the Epstein files are going to get released?
We hope soon. The FBI's been...
Okay.
So,
any dates?
No, you know what it is? There are tons of thousands of videos.
Yeah.
And it's all with little kids. So they have to go through every one.
Do you know when the Epstein files are going to get released?
We hope soon. The FBI's been...
Okay.
So,
any dates?
No, you know what it is? There are tons of thousands of videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to know what gross videos were on the personal devices. We want to know what videos were being recorded on site so that they could be used against the people. Yeah, we know that.
Well, I woke up this morning and...
I covered this post yesterday. I'll continue through. Gunther Eagleman showing that a source just sent this video about a devout Marxist, Representative Stansberry, Melanie Stansberry. Recording on the floor of the House, a rule was introduced in 2017 empowering Sergeant-at-Arms to impose fines on members for unauthorized recording or broadcasting of House floor activities. So should she be fined and issue an apology? We'll see. Virginia Guffrey was hit by a bus going at high speed, miraculously survived, and then offed herself. Yeah, right, Pam Bondi. Virginia Guffrey says, years ago, I'm making it publicly known that in no way, shape, or form am I suicidal. I made this known to my therapist and general practitioner. If something happens to me in the sake of my family, do not let this go away and help me to protect them. Too many evil people want to see me quieted. And she's been quieted. Did she know too much? General Mike Flynn says, I have a lot of respect for anyone who stands up to serve our nation, but when one does, you need to remember it's the American people you work for. This Epstein affair is not going away. And an early lesson learned for everyone regarding this affair, elites don't give a shit about children, you, or anyone for that matter. There's two standards of justice in our country, one for the elites, I include the uniparty in this club, and another standard for everyone else. Today was another brutal and stark example of the two different standards we appear to adhere to in the United States. This has to change, and quickly. Trump and Vance. Here's Schellenberger saying this is a total effing disaster. Senior intelligence community member told them in response to their questions about Justice Department covering up the Epstein files. If people think this is going to go away, I don't see how it can. Here's Cash talking to Benny.
You know, it's the same thing with Epstein's list.
Owen Schroyer puts this out and says, FBI Director Kash Patel says the FBI is covering up Epstein client list to protect higher profile individuals.
You know, it's the same thing with Epstein's list. It's like, what the hell are these Republicans doing? Oh,
I saw you
give out the list.
I saw you make news this morning about that. I got to get to that.
Yeah.
You say that the FBI has Epstein's list. They're sitting on it. That doesn't seem like something you should do. You're protecting the world's foremost predator. That seems like an evil thing to do, regardless of who may be embarrassed in the release of that list. Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list. You don't think that Bill Gates is lobbying Congress night and day to prevent the disclosure of that list?
Allegedly.
And why is it that the Senate, you know, and good for Senator Blackburn to try to get it out, but then Dick Durbin comes over the top and says, no, we're not going to release the names. I don't care about the list itself, but if you release the names, right? What the hell?
Yeah, what even are the semantics of the list and the names? I don't want anyone trying to be coy. Tell us who was involved. That's what we mean by the list, the names. Yes, that's what we want.
Names? I don't care about the list itself, but if you release the names, right? What the hell are the House Republicans doing? They have the majority. You can't get the list? You're going to accept Dick Durbin's word or whoever that guy is as to who is on that list and who isn't, and that it can and can't be released? Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are. We have an election coming up, and we need to adjudicate this matter at the polls. God knows.
This is from election season. My, how the turntables.
The FBI and DOJ aren't going to do anything, but how are you going to reward the FBI with a new headquarters building after their illegal surveillance on Donald Trump continues with a reauthorization of FISA, and we can't even get basic documents out? This is why America hates Congress, and this is why I'm
does America love Kash Patel?
Tired of the Republican majority saying they're going to get the job done and failing.
Did you get the job done, or are you failing, Kash Patel? Gateway Pundit reporting American frontline doctors petitioning FDA to make hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin over the counter. By the way, here's a reminder.
Outside of the New York
FBI field office
in the last hour, Assistant Director in Charge
in New York cheering for James Dennehy, who was forced to resign after getting caught hiding the Epstein files. The files that did not exist.
And the sound of bagpipes. He was forced out after clashing with Donald Trump's Justice Department after the removal of senior FBI leaders and requests for the names of agents who worked on the January 6 cases. He told those gathered that he will be their, quote, best cheerleader on the outside. We'll be watching for that. Another break.
But those Epstein files did not exist, according to C3. James Dennehy forced to resign after getting caught hiding the Epstein files. MSNBC saying it was because of J6. Well, which one is it? Mike Benz talking with Benny.
I don't know how much, for example, I mean, Pam Bondi was the Attorney General of Florida. In Florida was the exact jurisdiction that that Jeffrey Epstein spent his career in and was prosecuted in. And I don't know Pam Bondi. I've never met her. I'm not making any sort of, accusations here. It's just awfully convenient that everyone seems to know each other on this.
Yep.
And so there's a very simple fix, which is show your work.
Yeah, just do it.
Why can't we see, what Tulsi did with JFK files? A lot of people were upset that there was no smoking gun, for example, to be found in the March files for JFK. I was ecstatic about that. I thought that was one of the gold standard for how you do federal declassifications. Everything was fully unredacted. We got hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of files for independent researchers to add to our body of knowledge. even things that were, not directly related to, the assassination. We got all the Operation Mongoose files. The fact is the Epstein network is something that, given the extent of what we know from the criminal side, is something that we need answers about well beyond an FBI prosecution. And oftentimes, because of declassifications or because of court documents, even if you can't prove something criminally, what you can provide to the public, for example, like what is in a DOJ filing, provides kind of metadata, if you will. It's something that allows independent researchers to build on what's already known in order to make their own case if the DOJ feels they have insufficient evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt.
So isn't it already known what we know about Epstein after all these years? Following up with Patriot Warrior Texas and his JFK assassination files, that Mike Benz was here saying Tulsi did a good job releasing that. Patriot Warrior Texas says, my dad was hired by the Warren Commission to survey and reenact all the shots found. He was a marksman in the military, mapped out everything. Oswald did not act alone. So much more I could tell. Shoot me a direct message. And the Warren Commission was all lies. Well, that goes into the Scott Adams frame. And like you were saying, if the government tells me, I'm not going to believe it. Scott Adams just saying, none of the stories are real. So what is really going on? Are we just in a simulation? Is this like we're in a loop? Like literally what's happening here? Literally what's going on? A lot of big talk, no action. Cash is a puppet, Bondi's a puppet. Deb saying that maybe Elon wants to form a third party because he knows both sides are corrupt as hell and will never hold people accountable. So while a third party isn't popular, it might be the only way. Maybe.
But what's so curious about this is there wasn't even an attempt to do so. So I don't know how this DOJ can expect anything but long-term resentment and anger from the base when there isn't even an attempt to say, well, listen, we looked at everything. Here's what we looked at. And if you look at this too, you'll make the same conclusion. They didn't even do that second step. They just said, trust me, bro. And it's not there.
That's not happening. We're not going to trust you, bro. Are we still talking about this Epstein guy? I mean, that was like a while ago. And Bibi just said I'm maybe a Nobel Peace Prize award-winning guy. So what are we even talking about, Pam? What? Trust me, bro.
Well, show me what you looked at.
Show us what you looked at. Let's see the report. How many cameras were in each bedroom? How many bedrooms? How many cameras total? How many stacks of DVDs, hard drives do we have? I want the basics. Don't give me a 1,000,000-page report. Answer some pretty straightforward questions. Pam Bondi, all those videos were just disgusting child videos. No. We don't want to know what somebody... No. Those aren't the files anybody was asking for. It's all the other stuff that we know is there. This is stuff we know, don't we? That's what the story's been this whole time. You're telling me the whole story this whole time has been different? It wasn't a honeypot meant to ensnare people, to get them under their thumb, and then you have them as an asset to control for the rest of their life? Bribery and blackmail to run the world, right? Since when are people pretending that's not the case? We all know that's the case.
So I can decide whether or not you're bullshitting me. I want to see what you looked at, so that way I know what you didn't look at.
Yep.
If I know here are the 30 1,000 emails we looked at. We put them in a big Tulsi Gabbard, ODNI, JFK style, WikiLeaks style. You don't even need to index it for us. The internet will do the work.
Yeah.
Show us what you queried, CIA.
That's so true.
Tell us who you talked to. What were the names of the case officers? What conversations did you have with John Ratcliffe? What documents did you go back and look at from 2008? Are any of those declassifiable? If not, describe them or publish redacted forms and remove sources and methods. We want to know what you saw so that we agree with what you say. And you telling us what you saw will be helpful to know what you didn't see so that we can decide whether or not there's a cover up here instead of having to assume it.
And that is the assumption at this point. Earl Jacoby saying the Islamist who screamed at a Muslim NYPD officer.
To the Alis and the Abdullahs! To the Alis and the Abdullahs! To the Rafids! To the Rafids! To the Rafids! To the Rafids!
Who is stopping rioters from burning down New York City has been revealed as an intern for Zoran Mandani. These are the lunatics who will run the city if he becomes mayor.
Put some respect on that name! Put some respect on that name! Put some respect on that name!
Yeah, at some point, screaming in somebody's ear is not a non-violent crime. That's not a non-violent act to damage somebody's eardrums. These protesters better, there needs to be case law on this. If someone screams in my ear and hurts my ear, that's an assault. And I have every right to defend myself from being assaulted. And that is assault. I mean, screaming into this cop's ear. So, don't know if that's true, but that is the suggestion here. Worth looking into. Actually, I'll ask Grok. Grok, is this claim verified or debunked? Looking back at me, I'm sure you never really got it right. That's a good song. Hinder is the name of that band. So Labor Secretary Alex Acosta interviewed during the Conservative Political Action Conference at the Gaylord National Resort in Maryland. The quote attributed here is, "I was told Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone." Alexander Acosta, former U.S. attorney in Miami, on why he cut Jeffrey Epstein a sweetheart non-prosecution plea deal back in 2007. That was the end of the George Bush administration. The deal saw Epstein serve just 15 months in jail for child offenses. Glenn Greenwald says, "Nothing to see here at all. They looked in all the storage closets and under all the beds and found nothing. Move along." Anybody buying that? Red Pill USA says, "What happened to the window on Epstein's cell door? It's not even the same door. They think you're stupid. Why would two different facilities be showing two different locations?" Luke Radowski pointing out, Carolyn Levitt, doesn't she always wear a cross? Did she take it off? Was what she was told to say too much for her to even handle, and she didn't want the shame of wearing the cross today? Maybe that's the implication or the question. But sure seems like it stinks of a cover-up. Viva Frey says, "Never let up on the Epstein file. The Epstein files are on my desk. There are no Epstein files. Epstein offed himself. There is no client list or blackmail material. Source, an unsigned memo from the DOJ." Why didn't Pam Bondi put her name and signature on this document? And why didn't Pam Bondi prosecute Epstein 20 years ago down in Florida? Bondi was not involved in the Epstein prosecution in 05 to 08. She was an assistant state attorney in Hillsborough County, not Palm Beach, where the case was handled. She became Florida AG 3 years later in a post-plea deal. Important context for Bondi and Epstein. All right, so it looks like it's 3 years off, not like she covered up for Epstein there. But James O'Keefe says these are good questions. Well, are you aware that this is a parody post, allegedly? In this parody post, it shows absolutely nothing happening to Jeffrey Epstein's cell door. Are we all watching this? We're all watching this. Here's the video allegedly released in a non-legitimate, completely parodied way, showing absolutely nothing happening to that Epstein cell door. It's never opened, and it's never opened by anybody you resemble, or that you can recognize, rather. Nobody that resembles someone you know. Are we all watching this video? Tell me in the comments if this is the funniest thing you've ever seen. I mean, AI is getting pretty good. We said this is probably a satire comedy post. Probably. Oh, Ben Shapiro has thoughts on it. Don't you want to hear Benny Boy's thoughts? Let's listen to Benny Boy. Does this make you want to believe the official story more or believe it less?
We now have the answers. And the problem is this. People who never hedged their bets, people who never at any point suggested to you that they don't have data to back up the speculation, that the speculation was in and of itself the conclusion that if you speculate without evidence, that amounts to an actual conclusion to an investigation, they're going to be very upset today because it turns out that
I'm pretty sure there's lots of evidence that doesn't add up. One eye closed, one eye open. Look at those. Are those eyebrows painted on?
that amounts to an actual conclusion to an investigation, they're going to be very upset today because it turns out that the DOJ and the FBI have concluded that Epstein didn't have a client list and died by suicide, according to a memo detailing the findings obtained by Axios. Now, again, does this put to bed like all inquiries? Of course not. People can continue to speculate as much as they want. And I think there's still open questions here regarding how did Epstein make his money? Right, that's a very serious open question. And the speculation for a long time.
Don't make a joke about why Ben Shapiro is so concerned about how someone else is making their money. Don't make that joke. That is not a necessary joke that we need about Ben Shapiro being hyperfixated on other people making money and money making. There's no need for that. In fact, I'm going to pull out my debate Bobby. This chicken, they said Trump was chicken to debate Bobby Kennedy. I'm going to declare shenanigans. No jokes about Benny Boy Shapiro here and his obsession with the art of money making. Patriot Warrior definitely saw the parody post. Yeah, it does kind of resemble someone, doesn't it? Back to Benny Boy.
He made his money from blackmail. But the DOJ and the FBI, again, run by people like Dan Bongino and Cash Patel.
I squeezed that toy and I said, I wonder if Nimbus is going to come in. Nimbus just walked in, maybe because of the toy. I don't know.
Patel and Pam Bondi are telling you. I'm not telling you. They're telling you. People who are members of the Trump administration, people you elected and put into these positions to get you the truth on this matter, are telling you that he didn't, in fact, he was not murdered. He did not keep a client list. And he did not blackmail powerful figures. Okay, right? That is the thing that they are saying. Not I. They are saying this. If you're willing to throw that over and claim they're lying, then I'd like to see you present your evidence that they are in fact lying. Because I know Dan. I don't think that Dan Bongino is lying to me. I know Cash Patel a little bit. I don't think Cash Patel is lying to me.
David saying he looks like a gay. Oh, like George Michael. A little bit like George Michael. Never trust a man with two first names.
Me.
Okay, that's not. I've heard that somewhere.
I don't think these people are lying to me, which means that if somebody else continues to claim that they're lying, they ought to provide their evidence at this point.
Do you see him look up at the sky there?
I know Cash Patel a little bit. I don't think Cash Patel is lying to me. I don't think these people are lying to me, which means that if
what does he look up at? That's kind of one of the things you do when you are lying. You kind of, it's like a tell.
I don't think these people are lying to me. Which means
I don't think these people are lying to me. I don't think these people are lying to me. I don't think these people are lying to me. Yeah, that's a ticket. Yeah. Yeah, that's a ticket. I don't think these people are lying to me. That's a ticket. I mean, isn't looking up a tell? Has he got the producer up here? Looking at the clock on the wall. What's the point of the lookup? I don't know.
means that if somebody else continues to claim that they're lying, they ought to provide their evidence at this point. And now is the point at which the facts on the ground have changed. And so either you ought to shift your opinion based on the facts that have now emerged, or you ought to acknowledge that this was never a fact-based inquiry in the first place.
So does that make you more likely? Okay. Watching Ben Shapiro's take on the Epstein case makes me more likely to believe the official story. Agree or disagree? So Brian Cates here talking about this. Well, all right, let's hear his take.
We now have the answer.
Brian Cates says, you've got to understand, probably around 90% of the people who make up MAGA and MAHA are not Anons or digital soldiers. They're consumers of oligarch-controlled neocon media Inc., like Fox News and oligarch-funded neocon media Inc., social media influencers who've been moving into the MAGA-MAHA space for some time now. The way the Epstein case has been framed for those people by neocon media Inc. and the shady AF influencers who have large followings is a years-long misdirection, false narrative strategy. See, these people still think Epstein was driving the bus. They don't realize he was the front man for an intelligence operation, and this handler was his girl Friday, Ghislaine Maxwell. They think the Epstein case is about a rich pervert trafficking underage girls to an island so he and his buddies could get one rubbed out on a massage table by an underage teen. They skate around the blackmail material while furiously trying to force the people handling the ongoing Epstein-Maxwell trafficking child offing case to tip their hands and share information with the public. There's a very prevalent reason Neocon Media Inc. stridently insists it's long past time for the DOJ FBI to drop all the cards on the table and show the globalist cult what they're holding so they can prepare their countermeasures. Let me make this bigger so you can see it. Clips off the edge of it. Hi, Nimbus. But all they've gotten in return is their own misdirection and fake leak games from the investigators. Think about how freaked out the globalist cult people must be at this point since Epstein was arrested in 2019. Are they under investigation or not? What evidence do the investigators have tying them to the cultic activities on that island and elsewhere? Most of the public pressure that's been placed on the DOJ FBI to show the cards since 2020 has been carefully driven, guided, and stoked by Neocon Media Inc. and the oligarch-planted social media influencers who've moved into our MAGA space. This pressure is worthless, hasn't gotten any results. The investigations continue in dead silence, and so whenever something happens beneath the surface that hurts the cult and stings into retreating even further as it loses more power and influence over our country, is that the usual suspects begin loudly screaming for Epstein case disclosure right effing now. It's noise. It's all just noise. Anons and digital soldiers know this. This is why they tune the noise out and don't let it influence or affect them. See, that's your trust the plan stuff. That's the trust the plan stuff. The people who don't know this are just noise generated by people panicking that they can't penetrate the ongoing investigations, are what have been dubbed normies. That's why Epstein case drama is specially formulated and tailored by the oligarch-controlled Neocon Media Inc. for the normies. Absolutely nothing is going to be allowed to compromise these very serious investigations into crimes against children until the people handling this are ready to disclose. And all the loud neocon media inc. whining and crying and bitching about this changes nothing. It will not speed anything up. It will not force a disclosure that is not in the interest of justice. People being investigated for their vile activities will find out what the government is holding against them when their indictments are unsealed and not a moment before. Maxwell's still in play. Who controlled Epstein? One leads to another to another. Anyway, we just want the little black book. All right, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene writing a letter to the DOJ asking all charges be dropped against Dr. Kirk Moore. He is facing 35 years in federal prison for destroying thousands of vials of C-19 vaccine, giving his patients vaccine cards without taking the shots, and injecting saline into children whose parents wanted them to believe they got vaccinated without risking the deadly side effects. This man is a hero, not a criminal. The charges were filed under Biden's Department of Justice, not Trump. So the COVID V kills and injures people, but this brave doctor is a veteran, by the way, being prosecuted for helping people avoid tyrannical vaccine mandates under Democrats. Big Pharma, MTG continues, was given billions of taxpayer dollars for experimental COVID vaccines, and then the mRNA COVID vaccines were forced on Americans, our military, and our children against their will. COVID vaccines do not stop the spread of COVID and are proven to cause life-threatening myocarditis, miscarriages, strokes, blood clots, and many other issues that many Americans are angrily still dealing with today. There are millions of reports on the VAERS system of deaths and vaccine injuries for the COVID vaccine that still have never been investigated. Dr. Kirk Moore is a hero, not a criminal. So Marjorie Taylor Greene is asking that these charges get dropped. Do you agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene that the charges should be dropped against this doctor who spared a lot of people the vaccines and just gave them saline injections instead? Agree or disagree with Marjorie Taylor Greene? The charges should be dropped. All right, I'm going to pivot now and do a lightning round through Instagram. We're going backward on the way that we normally cover this stuff. Here's a reminder to stay frosty. This was Philadelphia on Independence Day weekend. Not fireworks. Stay frosty. Stay prepared. This is wild.
On Friday morning, July 17th, 1987.
The small town
of Comfort, Texas.
This was from 1987. The Guadalupe River flood ravaging a Texas church camp, killing 10 children as they clung to trees. In 25, the river struck another camp. Both disasters caught the kids off guard. Media trying to blame climate change, yet the river's brutal history suggests a deeper, untamed force. See, I wonder if there couldn't be like relief valves put in, where if it goes above a certain level, it could pump it out somewhere else. I don't know if that could be done, but I just try to think of solutions. Anyway, the Guadalupe's relentless floods defy time and narrative. That is William Shatner here. Watch it on our Instagram feed. People coming from other countries, mostly foreigners, want to impose their culture, their prices, and displace Mexicans, the native people of these lands. They're spray painting "Kill a Gringo." I think that's what it said. That's atrocious. Rioters demanding that Americans stop immigrating to Mexico City. Are you watching this? I mean, we are through the looking glass, people. We are in Crazyville, screaming at tourists as part of an anti-gentrification march. Oh yeah, totally organic. They're against money coming in. Signs calling for stricter housing and tourism regulations. Demonstrators spoke out against wealthy digital nomads driving up prices. Americans can stay in Mexico for 180 days without a visa. So, how weird is that? Did you follow that? Racism, hating white people. Yeah, it's a global thing to hate white people. It's almost like the same groups that are doing the stuff in America are doing this in Mexico. Almost like someone's pulling the string.
Bueno que no estuviste, Dan.
I mean, what are you going after? What are we doing here? This is in response to the United States having tough immigration laws, or this is to show that it's absurd to care about immigration laws, or just to show that there's a global process to push these waves of crime? Like, what are we even talking about? Anyway, that's something that happened you should be aware of. And that person's dressed like a clown, talking like a clown. Yep. We'll release the Epstein list. We just need more time. Speaking of clowns, the Epstein list is on my desk. There is no Epstein list. Footage cuts out exactly at 11:59 and picks back up at 12 o'clock. Let me just make sure you see this cut, minus the jokes. 58, 50. Oh, there we go. 57, 58, 50. Oh, and it just jumps. Oh, it does that every day, does it? Oh, does it? Okay. Yeah, and that, say it's a red herring anyway. We don't know if them taking Epstein out happened before or after the video ended. You remember when we were told the cameras weren't working? Come on, people. Come on.
What's the
street asking what's the biggest threat to America? Nimbus, you jumping down? Whoop, jeez.
biggest threat to America?
The media.
Why?
The media is the enemy of the people. Take a look at the Trump versus Biden debate, that first debate that ever happened. Before that debate, the media was all in with Biden, was promoting him, was saying that it was a right-wing conspiracy if you say that Biden is senile, Biden has dementia, Biden has lost his step, and Biden is not in control. Then the debate happens, and the largest audience ever of American people, but also the world, had now seen on that stage that Biden cannot complete a sentence. Keep in mind, they've known this the whole time. This guy has been cooked since 2020. And then immediately the media changes tune, saying Biden's senile, Biden's this, Biden's that. The media switches and changes up, and then they usher in Kamala. They literally attempted a coup on Biden, and they were successful. No one voted for Kamala to be the Democratic nominee. For the party that says that Trump is this huge threat to democracy, that was one of the most anti-democratic things that I have ever seen. And so now the media is fully on board with Kamala. They're saying that she's ahead in the polls. How do they conduct the polls? I've never been called by CNN. Have you?
No.
I've never been called by Washington Post. I've never been polled. The media is what causes divide. It causes racial divide. It causes family divide. It causes political divide. It causes fear, uncertainty. It makes people feel like the world's ending, when if you just come outside and touch grass, life's pretty good. So I think the media is the enemy of the people. The media is the biggest threat to the American public and to the world. They're just complete liars and cappers and frauds and scammers.
What's the biggest threat to America?
The media.
Why?
The media is the enemy.
All right. So is the media the biggest threat to America? The media is the biggest threat to America. Agree or disagree? Diddy found not guilty on all the relevant counts.
Diddy was found not guilty on all major charges. So let's have a look at the prosecutor.
Prosecutor Maureen Comey. I got to mute it because the music. Daughter of ex-FBI Director James Comey. Maureen was also the prosecutor in the Jeffrey Epstein case, where he allegedly offed himself. So if Diddy is the Jeffrey Epstein of the entertainment industry, then we know his tapes have leverage with the system. This was a show trial. They didn't even have Christina, who was Diddy's right-hand woman for 8 years. Sorry, I'm trying, guys. She helped organize these freak-off parties. She was like the Ghislaine Maxwell for Epstein. But at the end of the day, let's not get riled up by this news cycle. It's a small club with dirt on each other, and thankfully, we ain't in that club. So let's not focus on Diddy. He's just an asset in this corrupt system that's held together by blackmail that needs to change. Diddy's name is Mud, too. Yep, Ghislaine Maxwell. If there are no clients, then why am I in jail? Benny Johnson summarizing, the major problem that the Department of Justice and FBI face right now is that Americans' trust in these institutions is right around 0%. Americans have been lied to systematically on a daily basis by the Department of Justice and FBI leadership for decades. We've hit rock bottom, absolute crisis of confidence. Team Trump did not break these institutions, but they own them now, so they inherit the nightmare. This is why the old just trust us, bro, we looked into it, is not going to work anymore, especially with Epstein. It will only make Americans more furious and erode further faith. Here's the only way to solve the Epstein crisis blowing up DC right now. Release everything. Text, email, passport, art, furniture, tour of his property, cars, bank accounts, all communications, and cookbooks. Show the American people all the evidence that makes you confident in your Epstein assessment. I'll show you where to start. Here's an FBI photo of Epstein's personal safe. According to public documents, this envelope had multiple passports in it where Epstein used different names. That's odd. What countries? What names? The box next to it is filled with diamonds. Where are they from? What do they look like? Where are they now? None of this evidence contains abuse material and would prove to the public you trust them and are being honest. We know the feds confiscated a treasure trove of other information from Epstein. Put it out there. Trust the American people first. This is how you regain trust. See JFK documents release for a roadmap. So what do we got here? What is all this stuff? Comey had both Epstein and Diddy. Is this real life? FBI can tell you the name of every January 6th co-conspirator. Not a single name from Epstein's client list. Bullshit. All right, Scott Ruskin, good story, good hero story.
Hey, yeah, good morning, everyone. So I'll kind of give you guys a quick synopsis of
from the flood. Like, this is the hero we need.
What was going on? The Coast Guard launched us and decided to send a rescue crew from Air Station Corpus Christi at about 6:30, 7 a.m. on Friday, the 4th of July. I just happened to be on the duty crew with Ian Hopper, Blair Rougefort, Seth Reeves, some of our crew members in the Coast Guard. And they sent us out. We kind of encountered some pretty serious weather, some of the worst flying we've ever dealt with personally. It took us, which should have been an hour flight, probably took us about 7 or 8 just to get into the landing zone. Once made about 4 different approaches trying to get in, we were able to get boots on the ground with the Air National Guard, Department of Public Safety for Texas, game wardens. And we decided to leave me on scene at Camp Mystic. That was kind of our main triage site we were trying to help out with. And we decided, hey, if we leave the rescue swimmer on scene, we'll have more space in our Dolphin MH-65. So based on that, I got on scene, boots on the ground at Camp Mystic. Kind of discovered I was the only person there as far as like first responders go. So yeah, I had about 200 kids mostly, all scared, terrified, cold, having probably the worst day of their life. And I just kind of needed to triage them, get them to a higher level of care. And get them off the flood zone with a lot of the US-60 Army helicopters. United States Army National Guard was landing their 60s with Task Force 1, some of their rescue swimmers, and they were able to land. We kind of came up with 2 different landing zones. There was one off an archery field and then one at a soccer field. So yeah, we were able to kind of land those 60s in there. And then I was kind of the main guy as far as like grabbing people, usually like 15 to 10 kids at a time, maybe one adult with them, and bringing them over to those 60s and getting them to a different LZ that was kind of safe and had more first responders than just myself out there.
Had you ever done this before?
No, this is my first one. I haven't had any cases before. I've been a rescue swimmer for about a year, fully trained for about 6 months. So yeah, this is my first experience, but I really just kind of relied on the training we get. Coast Guard rescue swimmers get some of the highest level training in the world. So really just kind of relied on that, and that, just knowing that any of the rescue swimmers in the Coast Guard would have done the exact same, if not better than me. So
training is one thing, but this was the real deal.
Until I saw George Stephanopoulos. Is this some sort of weird psyop? Really, anytime ABC's involved, Jimmy Kimmel, ESPN, anytime it's ABC, ESPN, Disney, I just go, well, why are they pushing this story so hard? Is there something else going on here?
Yeah, this is definitely the real deal, but I just remembered that, when I got on scene, there was, 200 kids looking to someone for some sort of comfort and safety. They don't really know what my experience is or my rank or my age. They just know, hey, this guy's a professional and he's here to help us, and I kind of had to live up to that standard. But yeah, the real heroes, I think, were the kids on the ground. Like, those guys are heroic, and they were dealing with some of the worst times of their lives, and they were staying strong, and that helped inspire me to kind of get in there and help them out.
Well, you sure stayed strong as well. Thank you for joining us this morning. Congratulations.
Well, that is an awesome story of helping people in a time of need. Jack Posobiec saying ICE have now launched a series of raids to begin cleaning up the biggest sanctuary city on the West Coast, Los Angeles. Not entirely certain what we're watching here. It looks like at a park.
Again,
what are we talking about? Tens of thousands of videos.
Logical play out. If there was a video of some guy or gal committing felonies on an island and I'm in charge, don't you think you'd see it?
Tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn. And there are hundreds of victims. And no one victim will ever get released. It's just the volume, and that's what they're going through right now. The FBI is diligently going.
Again.
I don't want to play the semantics games. Jason Bassler says, no Epstein list, no America first, no spending cuts, no end to the deep state, no end to the Middle East wars. Oh, and Massey's the enemy. But hey, at least we got Real ID, Palantir database, bombing Iran, and a $1 trillion military budget. Crap. I'm going to put Welp. Welp button. None of that sounds good. Department of Homeland Security has ended temporary protection services for Hondurans. THP, temporary, or TPS. What is it called?
A little bit of breaking news: the Department of Homeland Security is moving to end the TPS status.
We're going to need those TPS reports. So they were temporary provisions from like 25 years ago, since 01 or 99. So now those are gone. They can go the legal pathway to do it. Epstein cell in 20 versus Epstein cell now. Okay, that's very different. The old man says, I can't believe Epstein offed himself right before he was about to be acquitted due to a complete lack of evidence. See, that doesn't make any sense either.
Well, the Epstein
Cash Patel.
Black Book, like on day one. On day one, roll out the Black Book.
So will you work with me on this issue so we know who worked with Jeffrey Epstein in building these sex trafficking rings?
Absolutely, Senator. Child sex trafficking has no place in the United States of America, and I will do everything, if confirmed as FBI director, to make sure the American public knows the full weight of what happened in the past. Well,
Here's the files, Cash. He's hiding. Here's a tinfoil hat look at, well, this topic. Oh, there's music, is in there?
Growing up in Sunday school, I was taught from the Bible.
All right, there's music in the background that's going to get this flagged for copyright. Here's a 2-minute video. Watch this. Does the Bible command Christians to support the nation state of Israel? Put your seatbelts on for this one. I can't play it because there's fucking generic piano music.
Those who bless Israel.
And there's no captions either. All right, we'll watch this and leave your thoughts. I'm curious to get your thoughts. Are you a Christian, and have you been told that you're supposed to blindly support Israel at every turn? Ted Cruz having this conversation with Tucker Carlson. I would play it if I can. They have music. It's obviously in my stack because it's interesting. Oh, well. Yep. Epstein was under the watch of the justice system when he died. That's the allegedly died.
Watch of the Justice Department.
Tom Fitton.
When he died. Why are they investigating it?
Oh.
Or if they said they, and by the way, if they.
Yeah, if they're the ones culpable, they shouldn't be able to run a cover up, right?
He came out and said there's no the evidence things of a suicide. Put the evidence out. Let's see what Bill Barr and those guys did. Let's show the receipts. The Warren Posse wants the receipts. They want receipts.
The evidence is
go ahead,
the
sir.
family had an alternative autopsy done that indicated murder and homicide, not suicide. Did they analyze that autopsy? Or was it Dr. Baden? We want the records. And, there's a process for releasing them, and they're not above the law, and they need to follow FOIA. Epstein was under the
Not buying the official cover up story button. Not buying it. Does this really happen? Laken Riley's killer Jose Ibarra gets a major win as a judge allows him to undergo mental evaluation for a shot at a trial redo. Is this real? Let me ask Grok. Laken Riley's killer about to get evaluated for a retrial. That's one of those stories I didn't automatically believe. Yes, Jose Ibarra, convicted of offing Laken Riley, granted a court-ordered mental eval, assessing competency to stand trial and assist with post-conviction proceedings. Athens Clark County Superior Court Judge H. Patrick Haggard ordered the Georgia Department of Behavioral Health conduct the eval. It's not guaranteeing a retrial, but it's a step that could influence post-conviction proceedings. Oh, that's not good. All right, Ragnar saying Epstein is innocent. Please elaborate on that. Tell us what you mean, Ragnar. Ragnar. Is that from Atlas Shrugged? This report from Gentry Geaver says a federal judge in Massachusetts just ruled to block the big, beautiful bill from defunding Planned Parenthood. Judges are now overturning Congress. Is this real? Who runs the world? Judges run the world. Based Bandita says, so apparently Epstein offed himself. The victims assaulted themselves. The tape erased a minute on its own. Politicians blackmailed themselves. The list erased itself. How dumb do they think we are? Pam Bondi said the Epstein client list was on her desk to review for release to the public just a few months ago. Now, the DOJ, she leads, claims that there is no Epstein client list. Sorry, but this is unacceptable. Robbie Starbuck says, was she lying then or is she lying now? We deserve answers. 6 years waiting for altered footage.
Here I come. Oh, here I come.
Yep.
New chapter tonight.
I can't play it because it has music.
Destiny is ours to choose.
Anyway, altered footage. 60 seconds missing from the footage. There's that Schellenberger clip I played for you, worth watching. This assertion from the Diego Baroni account says Epstein's client list condensed. Hollywood in Congress. Shared from @Luke or We Are Change. Do you agree or disagree with Luke? Here's your SpongeBob meme. Here are the Epstein files. Oh, nothing. Oh, here you go. This one is pretty great. Pam Bondi from Men in Black. There is no Epstein list. Sorry, Pam, we're not buying it. Babylon Bee reports that Pam Bondi confirms Ark of the Covenant sitting on her desk, waiting to be reviewed. Oh, nobody's getting dragged harder than Bondi, Patel, Bongino, and Trump. Yeah, I can't believe Epstein offed himself right before he was about to be acquitted from a total lack of evidence. All right, here's a story I wanted to cover. And Wokeness reports breaking. 11 far-left extremists have just been charged in a terror plot to off ICE agents in Texas. They were caught with tactical gear, high-capacity magazines, anarchist literature titled Organizing for Attack, a full plan to execute federal agents, barely a peep from the media. Now imagine if these were Trump supporters. Wall-to-wall coverage, nonstop CNN panels, Congress in meltdown. But since it's far left, crickets, no outrage, no accountability. Imagine that. Did you even hear about that story? Are these all crazy white people? What did Malcolm X say? The white liberal is the most dangerous force in America? Oh, this was interesting. This lady's just like, we don't need men.
Men. They are an added bonus and fun in our life.
97% of firefighters are men. 95% of coal miners are men. 96% of lumberjacks are men. 94% of pilots are men. 96% of ship captains are men. Welders, 94% are men. Oil rig workers, 96% are men. Fishermen, 97% are men. Construction, 92% are men. Surgeons, 81% are men. Deep sea divers, 97% are men. Demolition workers, 94% are men. Paramedics, 85% are men. Underwater welders, 98% are men. Industrial miners, 95% are men. Engineers, 89% are men. Railroad workers, 94% are men. But we don't need men.
They are an added bonus and fun in our life.
They're just added bonus and fun in our lives. No, society wouldn't work without men, but thanks for playing. Trying to explain the Epstein list.
Fairy dust.
It's fairy dust. It doesn't even exist.
It is no matter. It's not on the elemental chart.
No matter. Can't even play these clips anymore because of the copyright claims. Jack Posobiec.
This is
trying to clarify what he means by amnesty.
Not an easy time for MAGA to get their heads round.
Versus deportation. Piers Morgan here.
The consistent theme here.
Oh, Piers, what are you talking about? I love a fight. I'm always ready for a fight. And MAGA is always made of fighters. So if we got a fight, if we're coming. And by the way, Charlie Kirk is out there today saying that there's a huge push for amnesty of these, the farm workers. And this was something that was mentioned at the rally over the weekend in Iowa, or I guess just before the weekend in Iowa. And so, look, if there's going to be a fight, then we're more than ready for a fight. And I know that I certainly am. And I'm not going.
But don't you have to know what you're really fighting for?
I'm fighting for the country. I'm fighting for America first.
No, I get that. But are you fighting for deportations
yes.
of every illegal immigrant in the United States? If that means
yes.
that farms close all over the United States, for example?
Yes, it is 100% across the board. When we were at the RNC in Milwaukee, we had mass deportations now signs. And by the way, that doesn't necessarily mean that they all need to be arrested. And I know that people have been crunching the numbers and saying, if you do this many arrests a day and that many, I think that self-deportations are something that really need to be worked on. I think the remittance tax that went through in the big, beautiful bill should have been higher. 1% is too low in my estimation. I think that should be 5%, 10%, or even 50%, because in some of these cases, that's exactly what's going on, is that they're here for economic reasons in the United States. And so if you put that...
But doesn't the United States economy need a lot of them? I mean, isn't this the whole point about the farmer debate, is that actually farmers have gone to Trump in big numbers and said, if you deport every illegal, undocumented worker in the country, we're out of business.
Well, look, there can be a way for this to be done in a phased manner where they can get people in, and over time, it's not like it has to be, we're going to snap our fingers overnight and they're going to be gone, but absolutely, over time, 100%.
This is not an easy time.
So should there be some programs for people that want to work? I mean, if you raise your hand, go through the CBP home app, and it's like, look, I was sort of invited here. I want to be here. I've been working here. Can I get on the path to do it? Like, not amnesty, but like a work visa program. I'm kind of okay with that. Is it Prime Day today? You're self-censoring. I know. I try to self-censor sometimes. Hope the American people hold Cash and Bongino and Bondi and Trump accountable. But yeah, I mean, there can't be like a mass amnesty, but what is the plan? Is there a plan in place? People that are working, what happens? I just think about it like a bouncer. There's people in the nightclub that don't have their wristbands. Everybody out to the back of the line. Come back in, show your ID. It's not rocket surgery, as they say. I know I'm saying that unintentionally. Prime Day, scam day. Patriot War saying, nope, get your ass out my country. Yeah, it's the immigration system has been abused by Democrats for far too long. The country's under new management, but don't get me started on that new management today. If you're looking for a for a good day for me to be a cheerleader, this is not that day. It feels like meet your new boss, same as the old boss. It really feels that way. So Thomas Paine put out, FBI was investigating 36 young girls Epstein arred and trafficked. Yep, there you go. I covered this earlier. But what year was that again? 2008, I think it was. 2008, yes. So he's intelligence.
Attorney General all over TV saying, yeah, we got 14 terabytes of kids being raped, hundreds of new victims. And then you say, now there's nothing? And I read this DOJ letter about he didn't commit suicide. Here's a video of outside the wing. And there is no blackmail, and there is no client list, and there is nothing else. Trump loaded the gun, cocked it, put it to their head and said, you roll over, deep state. You see, I'm ready to do this. I don't know that, but that's what it looks like to me. Oh my God, now the recently released Epstein security footage is missing a full minute. Oh, they're setting up Trump. It's insiders. Oh, sir, look, we have this video. Oh, it's all there.
They're setting up Trump is what Alex is wondering.
No one went into the door to do it, and then there's a minute missing. Oh my God. Like deer in the headlights, like they had guns to their head, like they were hostages in North Korea or Vietnam. Fighter pilot shot down. Were they blinking with Morse code? And then they go on a tour on Joe Rogan and other shows. Oh, if there was any video or any files, I'd give it to you, Joe Rogan. I love Trump. Evil hate.
I don't know what this generic music is in the background, but I'm playing it for the newsworthiness of the conversation, not the audio. I'm allowed to play clips for fair use.
They're coming after him. He's doing so much good.
Just going to bounce. Every time I notice there's music, I just got to move to another channel. Oh, man. Hunter Ash here says, well, New York Post says there's a former Houston mayoral appointee who rages at flooded Texas girls' camp for being white only. And then says consequences for what? Maybe it was God's will to wash them lil see you something TS away. They're saying the camp wasn't segregated. It was mostly attended by white girls. So she and others I've seen are glad that they're gone. Can't emphasize how radicalizing this is. Every comment like this pushes people closer to becoming the monsters that they think that we already are, says Hunter Ash. That's a really terrible take on that situation. Hey, here's a take on preparedness, regardless of things we can't control with Epstein. These are things we can control. What if you're out and you see a man trying to snatch a young boy who is walking slowly behind his parents? I don't know if that's what we're watching in this video, but that's what it claims to be. Take a listen. Are you prepared?
What the fuck? Oh my God!
There was a little boy walking with his mother and his father, and he was, falling behind. So a man came and he was trying to cut him off. And then the little boy was trying to spin off on him. So the man just grabbed him up and started running with the little boy. And then the parents turned and started chasing him. And as soon as the parents caught up to the man, that's when the man just threw the little boy, and the parents just chased after the guy.
The comment here, dude dressed like he's kidnapping a kid to sacrifice to an ancient Chinese demon. Yeah, what's with the hat?
And they caught him.
It is not safe out there, man. You have to keep an eye on your children all times. You cannot let them walk behind you. You lose them for a second. They're out of your sight for a second, and that could be too late. This is happening, man.
No, they release him on cash bail?
It's dangerous out there. Thank God they caught this. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it was...
It's a message in the comments to remind the parents to stay in shape and stay ready.
Always like this. There's just more social media not to catch it, but it just seems quite terrible.
And then everybody just ran past the kid once he was thrown on the ground?
Keep your eye on your babies, please. God bless, always. Stay safe. Your best self-defense is awareness, always.
What is the hat? What are we even looking at? It's like a Benihana's? What the? He's got a pot on his head?
Oh my God!
Is that Jamiroquai from that video?
There was
a... Insanity now. I'll get a copyright claim for humming. He looks like Jamiroquai. Oh, you see my flaming onion? Oh, it's an onion volcano. Virtual insanity. Chucky Schumer's warning, man. What comes next?
No, this is just the beginning. If Doge attacks USAID today, then you can be sure they'll move on to another target tomorrow. Who knows? Maybe it'll be the Postal Service or the IRS or even the Social Security Administration. They could be next. Or maybe our national security agencies. We also know that
mean the IRS could be something we don't need? Wow. I'd hate to see that happen. Jessica Tarlov claims illegal migrants are being assaulted by detention facility workers. And Jesse Waters isn't having that.
So the people running the detention center are raping the detainees.
You've never heard of that happening, or they're abusing them?
Because I want to be clear that that's what you're alluding to.
That's what the report
So people that are running the detainee center are sexually abusing.
I don't have video of what was happening. I just know that they are seeing an increased amount of 911 calls saying that
Joe
people
Biden ran the largest sex trafficking operation in world history when he let
what?
12 million.
She said, I'm sorry, what? Yes.
People pour in and then lost hundreds of thousands of kids. Okay. And all the polls are.
She's bringing up Italian circular food gate.
Saying we're dead wrong on the election. That poll had Kamala beating Trump. Donald Trump was shot in the head. You guys firebomb cars, you riot. Now you're shooting at Border Patrol agents. And Dana's exactly right. This is the strategy. The base wants blood. And after January 6th, you guys hailed these people protecting the Capitol borders as heroes. But now the people protecting our borders are somehow Nazis? You call them Gestapo?
So the people running the detention center.
Good points. Yeah, if they were heroes around the fence at when Biden was installed, why aren't they heroes protecting our border, going after all the people that are not here legally? There's a way to be here legally. Do that. Trump admin cracks down on Chinese Communist Party linked ownership of farmland nationwide.
Today, we are taking this purpose and our American farmland back.
American agriculture is not just about feeding our families, but about protecting our nation and standing up to foreign adversaries who are buying our farmland, stealing our research, and creating dangerous vulnerabilities in the very systems that sustain us. Reshoring and nearshoring our food and agriculture supply chain is essential for our nation's security. In coordination with the White House, the Departments of Treasury, Defense, Homeland Security, and Justice, as well as state governors, state agriculture commissioners, local, tribal, and territorial governments, today we announced the USDA's National Farm Security Action Plan. This plan includes 7 key action items, and there's a lot of people here that I want you to hear from, so I'm not going to go one by one, but just very quickly. It's on our website. The press has gotten a preview of it.
Anyway, blah, 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 blah. We just said, great news. Where's the Epstein list and files? We need to resolve that first. Don't let it go.
Secretary, were you ever made aware at any
Alex Acosta
point in your handling of this case if Mr. Epstein was an intelligence asset of some sort?
So there has been reporting to that effect.
But does the Jeffrey Epstein case go much deeper than just that? This is from Substack, Technofog Substack. He asked a serious question. Apparently, Rolling Stone had reported about Epstein's dealings in the arms world in the 1980s, which led him to work for multiple governments, including the Israelis. Ward sources said that Epstein was, quote, known in the intelligence...
Working for the Israelis. Okay, this is common knowledge. Nobody's inventing this.
...world as a hyperfixer. Someone who can go between different cultures and networks. Says, you know, Epstein's an intelligence asset for people in the Middle East, right? I'm like, no, I didn't know that. I'm like, you sure of that? The person, let's say, is like, I'm absolutely sure of that. That he's either a witting or unwitting asset, intelligence asset. Meaning his plane and that island, the cameras, there's a big assumption out there that these videotapes were exclusively in the custody of Epstein. That's a huge mistake. The reason they wanted this story to go away is because there's an assumption like, oh yeah, Epstein had him. No, he wasn't the only one who had him, according to this source. These assets, that's why this blackmail story makes so much sense. Which Middle Eastern countries they are, I don't know. But this person, who's a very, very good reporter, I mean, aces, right? Swore Epstein was either a witting or unwitting intelligence asset, and they may have had his plane wired up, and they're the ones who have all this stuff. So the point is, to sum it up, how do you know some of these countries aren't going to some of these power players who aren't making decisions? Because, hey, you wouldn't want this video out there, right?
Secretary, were you ever made aware?
Wouldn't want that video out there, right? Pete Hegseth talking about protecting America's homeland. Pam Bondi behind, trying to redirect and misdirect and make us forget about the Epstein lies.
I want to know who owns the land around our bases and strategic bases, and getting an understanding of why foreign entities, foreign companies, foreign individuals might be buying up land around those bases. That's something I should be paying attention to on behalf of the American people, on behalf of my department, and on behalf of the president. It's common sense. And so food security, just like energy resilience, just like where we get our water, that's all national security, especially in a contingency. So we would be asleep at the wheel if we were not fully a party to an effort like this to ensure that our nation had the food supply it needs. But specifically, our troops have what they need on our bases, so that in those moments you can rely on us here in the United States to provide that security. So no longer can foreign adversaries assume we're not watching and we're not paying attention and we're not doing something about it, because we are. So, Brooke, thank you very much. I want to know.
Oh, the comments are just trolling them mercilessly. Just saying, hey, where's the Epstein information? We covered this. Utah plastic surgeon Dr. Kirk Moore giving patients vax cards without taking the shots, and saline for parents that were wacky. Carl Higbee, it's too bad Epstein offed himself. He apparently would have been fully acquitted because there's no evidence. So why is Ghislaine in jail? Shouldn't she be free because there's no evidence? You can't traffic kids to no one. Here's the 10 people charged with attempted offing of ICE officers in Texas. Here's a story I don't know if you heard about. Real Ben Geller says an imposter posing as Secretary of State Marco Rubio contacted foreign ministers, a U.S. governor, and a member of Congress, sending voice and text messages mimicking Rubio's voice and writing style using AI. Let the games begin. Well, that's shady. That was Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins announcing new legislation banning CCP and all Chinese state actors from owning or purchasing land in the U.S. Oh, here you go. Trust the plan, crowd. Hold up. Let him cook. Bombing Iran. $5 trillion of debt added to the debt ceiling. No Epstein list. Talks of amnesty. Oh, and by the way, giving more aid to Ukraine. Remember last week, it was like, oh, President Trump had the best week ever. Is this the worst week ever? We're arming Ukraine again. We're continuing the Ukrainian war. Did you catch that one? And it's also maddening when the plan people start up again.
Massive voter fraud bust in Texas. 15 Democrats just charged in ballot harvesting scheme, including a county judge, 2 city council members, 2 school board officials, a former Texas House candidate, a former mayor, and a Democrat party chair. All these amazing people right here, all Democrats, all busted in voter fraud, all of them.
Guy's got an interesting voice. Is this James Dunn?
Arrested. But hold on, I was told and we were told that these are all conspiracy theories spewed by the radical right. Well, this is conspiracy theory number infinity that obviously we were right about. Hunter Biden laptop, the origins of the vaccine, of COVID, the side effects of the vaccine, everything that we keep talking about, especially when it comes to voting, turns out that we were right, while the Democrats have been gaslighting us and shadow banning us and censoring us on social media because it's a conspiracy theory and we should not be talking about it. Receipts from the great state of Texas, right here. Tell me it ain't so. But hey, I've said it before and I will say it again. Democrats have the legacy media, they have the politicians, they have the influencers, they have the celebrities, they have Hollywood. They have the biggest online platform in the country. And they still lose. Why? Because the American people, well, at least half of us, are smart. Because the American people can read through the lines, because the American people know what's what. Massive voter fraud bust in.
And doing a quick look to see if I can confirm this. May 1st of 25, Frio County grand jury indicted 6, including public officials, for alleged vote harvesting scheme targeting elderly in local elections from 22 to 23. County Judge Rochelle Camacho, 3 counts of vote harvesting. Pearsall City Council members, Ramiro Trevino, Rachel Garza, with vote harvesting. Pearsall ISD trustee Adrian Ramirez, charged with vote harvesting. Former Frio County elections admin Carlos Segura, charged with tampering with evidence for allegedly concealing mail-in ballot applications. Frio County resident Rosa Rodriguez, 2 counts of vote harvesting, accused of being the primary vote harvester who hid ballots and used different vehicles to evade detection. So that is a story. I wanted to double check that for you. Are you aware of it? They keep saying there's no evidence. Well, there's evidence. U.S. government really outdid themselves, making Diddy innocent and Epstein's client list disappear all in the same week. Here's the announcement of the attempted offing charges against 10 individuals in Alvarado, Texas. More weirdness in Texas.
We're here to tell you that late at night on July 4th, Friday night at approximately 10:37 p.m. at the Prairieland ICE Detention Center in Alvarado, Texas, 10 to 12 individuals dressed in black military-style clothing began shooting fireworks.
Black military-style clothing. Is it black or is it military style? Is it camouflage? What is it? I don't know. Some of these things like, oh, they had magazines. Well, yeah, they had guns. Oh, they dressed in military clothing. What does military clothing even mean? Military style clothing.
Engaging in acts of vandalism at the facility.
shooting fireworks. Okay.
And this was part of an organized attack. Today, my office has charged 10 individuals with 3 counts of attempted murder of a federal officer. Each of the 10 are also charged with 3 counts of discharging a firearm in relation to a crime of violence. Each of these defendants faces a mandatory prison term of 10 years and up to life in prison. An additional co-conspirator was charged with obstruction.
Based on how she was describing it, I wasn't hearing murder charges. I heard that they're shooting fireworks. Maybe I misheard the beginning of
Obstruction of justice and conspiracy for attempting to conceal and destroy evidence in relation. We're here to tell you that in relation to the attack, and he faces up to 10 years in prison. Let's discuss the incident. It was a planned ambush with the intent to kill ICE corrections officers. Make no mistake, this was not a so-called peaceful protest. It was indeed an ambush in relation to the attack, and he faces up to 10 years in prison.
All right. Well, there you have it. I needed to be a little heavier on the facts. Shooting fireworks at someone while wearing black military clothing. I don't even know what. I don't know how you get to murder from that. So, all right, here's a spicy one from Ian Smith Sr. Tell us if you agree or disagree with Ian. He says, as expected, MAGA influencers and media are rushing to gaslight anyone who wants the Epstein files released. Couldn't be more predictable and lame. Let me tell you that Epstein actually was never important and how you should just get behind Trump on all topics and trust the FBI suddenly. How far are you willing to go refusing the agenda? Drew Hernandez says we're being gaslit. Well, saying the corrupt leadership prevented Bongino and Patel from doing their job is no longer the case. They unleashed, they're making America safe. Like, that's not gaslit. On one hand, I mean, New York City had no murders for the first time on recorded history on July 4th, Independence Day. Violent crime is down, way down, because people aren't messing around. They don't want to find out because daddy's home. They don't want to be the squeaky wheel that gets the grease. So to Drew Hernandez, I mean, you're not gaslit by that being true.
You know, it's the same thing with Epstein's
Two things can be true at once.
list. It's like, what the hell are these Republicans doing? Oh,
I saw you
give out the list.
I saw you make news this morning.
The same thing about the list. What are these Republicans doing? Sounds whiny.
About that, I got to get to that.
Yeah.
You say that the FBI has Epstein's list. They're sitting on it. That doesn't seem like something you should do. You're protecting the world's foremost predator. That's
cash in December of 23.
Seems like an evil thing to do, regardless of who may be embarrassed in the release of that list. Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast?
By the way, the comments here, reading from Ian Smith, I think this is, saying almost all Bongino's old podcast episodes, dozens, if not over 100 of them, where he would rant and rave endlessly on the importance that we never let the Epstein story go away, have been scrubbed by Apple Play and other platforms. I'm going to look this one up. I don't know that to be true.
The largest scale pederast in human history.
Simple, because of who's on that list. You don't think that Bill Gates is lobbying Congress night and day to prevent the disclosure of that list? And why is it that the Senate, you know, and good for Senator Blackburn to try to get it out, but then Dick Durbin comes over the top and says, no, we're not going to release the names. I don't care about the list itself, but if release the names, right? What the hell are the House Republicans doing? They have the majority.
AIPAC here says America and Israel is stronger together. There's President Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on perhaps the most shameful day of President Trump's 2 terms. Look who's in town. Any connection? Any relation? Any connection? Bloomberg reports Netanyahu says he nominated President Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize. And look at this. President Trump says the U.S. will resume weapon shipments to Ukraine. Days after a pause. Oh, yes, two things can be true at the same time. And I've had somebody, I started saying that to someone and they're saying it back to me and I'm going, I don't know how much I like hearing it because it sounds like a cop-out, but it's not. It's very true. And it's like there can be a lot of things that are accurate at once. And there could be countervailing views or contradictory perspectives on the same topics as well. Trump has been getting pretty pissed off at Putin because he doesn't want to end the war at all. And then Trump comes out and says, we're going to keep arming Ukraine. It's like, well, we should have just voted Biden. We're getting the Epstein list covered up. You're arming Ukraine. What does that mean, arming Ukraine? Weapon shipments to Ukraine. Who's paying for it? Is this a loan finally? Deb saying Tucker spoke about the Netanyahu connection and the timing with his visit. And when he's here, the most insane shit comes out from Pam Bondi. Oh, no, there's no Epstein. Yeah, there's no files. Huh? So Ian Smith puts these side by side out. Says that this is Kash Patel's girlfriend. Do we know this to be true? By the way, Bongino, it's not supported by conclusive evidence by available sources that Bongino episodes discussing Epstein have been scrubbed by other platforms and podcasts. How many Bongino episodes have been removed from the archives? How many of those episodes discussed Epstein? Let's see if Grok can give me an answer on that. No definitive. $2,000 episodes, roughly. Several episodes explicitly addressing Epstein are still available. Challenges and verification. Anecdotal claims. Likely overstated, and many episodes remain accessible. Okay. Well, not getting any confirmation there. So let's see. Kash Patel, girlfriend. I don't know if any of this is accurate. Alexis Wilkins. See, this doesn't seem to be. Wilkins held the Bhagavad Gita during his oath? They've been together for 2 years. Okay. Wilkins' connection to FBI's if you work with PragerU. Is this the same last name? Alexis Wilkins? No. Marissa Street. Okay, so that's not accurate. I can put that in the comments. I'm going to debunk. Debunk. Okay. Cernovich talks about the lone sex trafficker theory. Yeah, you got the lone gunman theory and the lone sex trafficker theory. Yep. MAGA members huffing on the hopium. Got to get that hopium. Huff, huff, huff on the hopium. Anyway, how does someone get charged with trafficking to no clients? Tell me. Meanwhile, here in Poland, farmers are allegedly driving tractors toward the Polish-German border to help citizens patrol movement, helping patrol the border and stop the German police from pushing illegal alien invaders across the border into their town, allegedly. McCarthy's Prodigy puts this out. I'm not sure how accurate this is, but it does sort of match what I've been hearing. Let me go that dynamic. 20-year-old white men are now more right-wing than 75-year-old white men. Yeah, the comment, what other choice is there when the other side blames you and hates you? No self-respecting person would be a left-winger at any age. Ezra Klein, Democrats need to face why Trump won. Well, you pushed all the men out. Here you go. Presented without comment, citizens in Mexico rioting over the weekend in opposition to foreigners entering their country, telling them to get out and criticizing them for not assimilating into their culture. I mean, I showed you some of this before. That's just what is going on here? What is this stupidity and this madness? Boston Democratic mayor says that criminals should not be prosecuted for theft and gang registry should be abolished. Hannah Grossman wrote that for Fox News, May 30 of 24. Less than a year later, shoplifting rose 30% in Boston last year. What's being done to stop it? Sounds like the opposite. New York Post is claiming Mom Donnie in New York is stoking Italian-American outrage after resurfaced tweet shows the socialist is giving the finger to Christopher Columbus's statue. Take it down. He is quite hateful with a creepy smile, isn't he? By the way, if that's accurate, but that is what the New York Post is reporting. Success with Attitudes here says, in Britain, people now literally get longer prison sentences for offensive social media posts than actual child abusers do. Huh. If you're offensive on social media, you'll get a strong charge. Being Libertarian reminds us, you know who would release the Epstein list if he had it? Thomas Massey. Thomas Massey chimes in off the top rope. Yep. Go figure. MAGA is going after Massey. Make that one make sense. That's another bad look for Trump. Trump might have had the best week ever 2 weeks ago. He's having the worst week ever now. Dr. Joel Gator says Secretary Kennedy and HHS are being sued by 6 major groups, including American Academy of Pediatrics and the American College of Physicians, over what they call unlawful unilateral vaccine changes. So the clown show continues. No dialogue or debate, just decrees and name-calling and lawsuits. This isn't about science anymore. It's about power, control, and a medical system at war with itself. The trust is gone, the system is broken, and the collapse of modern medicine is happening in real time. Here are Polish patriots patrolling German borders relentlessly because they don't want fake asylum seekers. When this true patriotism spreads throughout Europe, we will be safe. Fake asylum seekers. The Last Refuge says, according to FBI, there's more than 1,000 victims of Epstein. Each of those victims are witnesses. Each witness interviewed could have described events, people, and communications, and locations and phone numbers and processes and specific names. So where's any of that info, guys? Every young woman victim interviewed by the FBI would have named or described the men, along with dates and times. We're not stupid. FBI would have corroborated the testimony with flight logs, guest registration, cell phone GPS data, phone calls, credit card charges, and any video on the island, along with interviews of pilots, flight attendants, and house staff. We're not stupid. No incriminating client list. No credible evidence found that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals. What an odd thing to say. No evidence uncovered that could predicate an investigation into uncharged third parties. My ass. But consistent with prior disclosures, the review confirmed Epstein harmed over 1,000 victims. Cash and Dan, where are you? Worst week in either Trump presidency, without a doubt. Sad. Jimmy Dore reminding us when both RFK and Joe Scarborough vocalized a link between something you inject and something people have that limits their cognitive abilities. Watch that video, 2 minutes. John Black says the Epstein list offed itself. Tariffs will start being paid on August 1st, as per a letter to various countries sent yesterday. August 1st, no extensions granted. Thank you for your attention to this matter. GOP congressman calls for Newsom to count illegal migrants getting state health benefits. It's time to shine a light on the abuse. Here's a map here. Trump admin launching the National Farm Security Action Plan to ban land purchases by Chinese nationals and other foreign adversaries and to reclaim farmland. 43.4 million acres. Let's keep our eyes peeled on that. All right. Had a lot to unpack here. Haven't heard anything about Assange lately. I know. I bet Assange would release the Epstein list too if he could. You know, we've had like fake lists for years. Just want to know what's going on. Patriot Warrior agrees. Worst week ever. So that's my final question. Do you agree or disagree that this is easily, by far, the worst week of the President Trump administration? Agree or disagree? I don't know what else to tell you. But I will tell you this. I'll be back tomorrow, and I'll unpack the news again with you. I'll play clips. We'll have conversations. And we hope that you will tell a friend. Maybe share our show, copy a link, and toss it off to a couple of your smartest friends and go, hey, you should go watch this guy. You should support this dude's channel, his network, his podcast, his content. They'll say, oh, the New American Media. Where do I follow them? Well, scrolling at the bottom of the screen. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Truth Social, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch, Kick, D-Live, and YouTube at the New American Media. We're on Telegram and Signal at TNAM and TNAM Chat. We're on X at American_Media_. And our podcast is called The Agree to Disagree Show. And, of course, the tip jar is on Venmo and Cash App at Brian Engelman. On PayPal, Fuzz Installment at Yahoo. And Patreon, the New American Media. Scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Dark Sage. Hello, Dark Sage. I didn't see your comments earlier. Thanks for joining. I will say this about Epstein for what it's worth. Dark Sage watching us on, that's Twitch, right? You're on Twitch, I believe. Thank you for watching us on Twitch. I will say this about Epstein for what it's worth. If all that stuff came out, how exactly as a political elite do you weasel your way out of that mess? Yes, everyone who associated with him and knew anything or partook in trafficking needs to be held accountable. But I'm just asking from that point of view, imagine if you were on the list and someone confronted you, how exactly do you weasel out of it? You play a trump card, you play a stronger trump card. Like in spades, can't you trump a trump? Try to take the word Trump out of this. I'm not trying to work President Trump in here per se. Not a good look for Trump. Patriot Warrior, agree. Worst week for Trump. Try to watch the Tucker Carlson interview, the latest one. Which one was it? It wasn't the one with Elon. Let me check X. What messages do I have? Notifications? Where am I looking? I don't know where to look. Can you tag me again and say this is the video I want you to watch with Tucker? Yeah, I don't see it on X. Oh, is it this one? Sagar Jetty. Here, I'll retweet it when I go live with Nimbus. Yes. Okay, I think I see what you're asking me to watch. All right, I retweeted. I will try to check that one out. Perfect. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Whoo, that was a lot to get through. We'll unpack more of it tomorrow. Until then, signing out for everybody out there in the TNAM universe. I appreciate you. I love you. And we'll talk to you again soon. Take care, everybody. There it is.
Your guide to the truth. TheNewAmericanMedia.com.